Just get the stream open so we can see what's going on in chat. Have you got YouTube open as well on your phone so you can see
Yes, I
who's
do.
saying what in
Yeah,
chat?
yeah, yeah.
Happy days. It is live. Oh yeah, it's just come up. Happy days. Here we go.
I'll just put one on. Here we are. There we go.
And Craig first to join in. How do you do, Craig?
Hi, Craig. Good to see you.
So I'm just going to quickly share this to Discords. It'll be a couple of seconds. And then we are going to be good to go.
I can hardly believe I'm in popular demand. Apparently I'm popular, you know.
You're very popular in the sim racing community. I think it's it must be said. I think you've done so much work for the GT Sport community in particular, especially interviewing the people that you had. I just thought, you know, I think it's only fair and about time for you to have your own interview. And obviously, with me wanting to do interviews myself, I thought, well, you're the first person I want to get on, especially with all of the things that you've done for, you know, everyone else. So.
Oh, that's very kind. Yeah, well, it's great to be on your interview and on your channel. And hello to everyone. I can see that Richie is there, and Ian is there, and Craig has joined as well. So I believe there's about 7 or 8 people plus watching. So it's good to see you all. I hope you've all had a great start to the week. And you can ask me any question you want. You can annoy me with your questions. You can, because you can't see me, you can make me cry. You know.
So, did you have a good Christmas and a good New Year yourself?
I did. Yes, it was really nice. The first year in the new house, and it was just us, just the family. I had quite a funny moment when I decided I was going to cook the turkey on Christmas Day. And it's quite an old house, and the oven that we got is tiny because it was an electric oven, and it was the only thing we could get that fitted in with the new kitchen because it's a very, very small kitchen. And when I put the turkey in, I suddenly thought, oh, it's not going to fit. And I thought, how am I going to cook this thing? But I realised, thankfully, that there was a slight, there was something just blocking the tray. And I thought it just simply wasn't big enough and it wasn't going to actually move in. But when I kind of got down on my hands and knees, I was able to push it right the way through. And thankfully, the turkey did fit. And it was able to be cooked, and we had a lovely time. So yeah, no, it was really good fun. I had a lovely Christmas in that.
And did you get your socks?
That is the thing. I always get socks. I mean, my mum gave me 1 pair of socks, and you know, it's a very special pair of socks. 1 pair of socks that are mean that you aren't supposed to sweat in them. So they're kind of like for hikers or something. So yes, I got these socks. And then yes, in fact, my mother-in-law got me a pair of socks as well, but she managed to stretch to a pair of 5 of socks. But yeah, so it was very popular on the Christmas menu. Were socks in our household. That's all I seem to get.
Well, yeah, it was socks for me this Christmas, but I'm happy with socks. I need socks. There were bamboo as well, and bamboo socks are where it is at. So, I'm all sorted, I'm ready to rock and roll. Thank you to everyone who is joined in. Something a little bit different today. We're going to be interviewing the one and only legendary Hugh Hatrick. I've just left the pits, Hugh, by the way.
Alright, yep, I've just realised that you're gone. I'm going to follow in hot pursuit to you, you know.
And for everyone that's watching, we're not racing, we're just having a little bit of fun, driving around, which I suppose kind of opens up my first question, although I do want to ask something beforehand. But this is also the reason why we're here at Brands Hatch. This is Hugh's choice, one of Hugh's favourites, and yes, so we could start off with, could we introduce who you are, what you do, so the people that don't know you can learn a little bit more about you?
Yeah, certainly. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Hugh Hatrick. I have the Hugh Hatrick channel, and I basically try and interview sim racers. Over the last few years, we've had quite a number of different sim racers, and we've even had a few real racing drivers as well. Because it was for a long time, I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to see what these people are actually like, and how have they managed to get so good at these games. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I decided that I would start interviewing them, and it started with, believe it or not, Super GT.
Wow.
I was watching one of his streams, and I've been watching him for a long time, and I thought, you know what, I wonder if he would be up for an interview. And to my amazement, when I asked him, I gave him a little kind of super chat message, he said that he would. And from that point on, I think we've had about 4 or 5 interviews at least with him over the last few years. And so that's how it all started. Then I kind of gave me a little bit of confidence to ask some more people, and we've had people like Tijdney, we've had The Key, we've had Rory Alexander, we've had really a large number of, oops, I'm going wide here, a large number of fantastic sim racers, including yourself, Matt. We got you a few months back as well.
You did,
so,
yes.
It was, it's been a really good few years. That my thing now is, how do we take it forward, and what's the next step for the channel, to see what we can do with it. But yeah, no, it's I think our Christmas special kind of summed it all up. It was a fantastic time. I think we had about 7 or 8 different people, or at least 5 or 6 different guests. We had Kieran Cart, we had Mikhail Hazal, and of course we had Valerio Gallo, who was the world champion for GT Sports, and many of them had won so many things. And we had people like Darren Turner and Deadeye Delboy, Mike Rogers Racing. So we had a real kind of a wonderful spread of guests on the show, which was great fun, really good fun.
Well, I'm going to let you take the lead, Hugh, just so you're on camera shot. There we go. Like I say, do what you want. You're welcome to go for it. You're welcome to chill. It's absolutely fine. But yeah, no, that's something that I mean, this is why I said, this is why I wanted to interview you first, because I feel like you deserve this, in the sense of, just making people aware of you that maybe aren't yet, because you have interviewed all these greats, and from my perspective and my knowledge from who I've seen on Gran Turismo Sport, it does appear like you have interviewed them all of the greats. So I guess the next organic question from there is, who has been your most favourable interview?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, although it's very hard to get him on the show now because he is so busy, Super GT, I think, has been the one that probably made me the most nervous, because I suddenly thought, this guy is really good and is really big. I mean, every time I interviewed him, he was up to another 300,000-400,000 subscribers. And I thought, it's just for the fact that he would give me the time of day was really good, yeah, so I think that's probably been, obviously the biggest star I've had on the show, to be fair, in terms of numbers, and also because he's a very, he's just naturally very, very funny, and people just take him straight away, and he's very, very good at what he does, very, very good indeed. But people like Rory Alexander has been fantastic, because he did a huge amount to really help me reboot my channel last year, and that was a huge I couldn't have done it. It wouldn't be where it is without Rory, for what he did in August of last year, with the support that he's given. So
wow.
Yeah, it's everyone's been better than you would ever have expected. I've not had anyone who's been kind of cheeky or kind of like said something off air that you think, oh, I wouldn't want to have them on again. They're actually the sim racing community, because I think it's people who just love gaming. They're just really nice, and that's the thing. So I've never really had, thankfully, any issues or any problems with any of my guests. So it's been a privilege to do it, and I hope now we can get to a stage where we can take it even further. And that's the big question on my mind at the moment, is how do we take it further? What's the next step for us?
Yes, well, I know we had a chat about that last time, and I think, you know, your options are somewhat endless, which I suppose is somewhat the exciting thing. But interesting that you mentioned Rory, because from everyone that I have been watching, 99% of them are absolutely lovely, and Rory seems to be the most, how do I say this? I want to say the loveliest, kindest, somewhat conscious of what other people are trying to do. I remember signing up to his membership on YouTube, and he said that, you know, thanks for joining, I've been watching you, and he popped into a couple of streams sometime, and you know, you just sort of get a feel that he's a genuine bloke that wants people to succeed, you know. So yeah, Rory definitely seems to be one of the most loveliest dudes, although they're all lovely, like you say.
No, it's and the thing is, they just love racing, and I kind of, for me, I would love to see them be able to do it for real, because I think a lot of them would love to be able to do it for real, and I think a lot of them would be extremely good. I mean, I know when I spoke to Key, he said he didn't want to race in real cars, and it just wasn't really his, you know, he just never thought he would do it. But I think he would be a very good racing driver, because he's very, very fit, you know, in terms of athletic. You know, he's up to it, you know, he goes to the gym and he keeps fit, and he is very, very quick. I think Tidgney, I mean, he's already done, you know, a lot of big events, but I think it would be fascinating to see him in a real racing car, and doing some races, because I genuinely think he could do very well. We're already seeing Super GT do it in go-karts and things like that, so we know that it's possible. But I think in time these guys will get so big that they'll be able to do it, or they'll certainly be able to do some form of driving day or some kind of thing. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's what we see in the future for these guys. They'll do more like what Super GT has done, and get to a point where, you know, it's going to be full time for them, I reckon. Because if they get big enough, they'll be able to do it.
It feels like the natural progression again, I think, doesn't it, with regards to, like I say, I frowned when you said that Key doesn't want to race in real life, because I you know, my perception is that we're all doing this because we want to do this in real life, but we can't, like, necessarily afford it. For instance, it's always money, isn't it? There's two things I've realised that all racing drivers have in common, and it's racing and money. No race driver is shy of money, that's for sure. But yeah, that is very interesting, and I love the fact that, you know, people such as Jimmy Broadbent, Super GT, they've took their passion, and I think this is where, or maybe why, I don't know whether you agree, that they've become successful, because they've got that natural passion to succeed. So for me, getting on here, you know, I'm looking for the most realistic experience as possible, and the most immersive. I think immersive more than realistic, but obviously realism is very much a forefront of the idea here. But I think it does bring me joy seeing Super GT and even Jimmy Broadbent, who, you know, got that drive with Praga. It's brilliant, and I hope that many other YouTubers have that kind of success. It gives the other YouTubers, I suppose, like me, a little bit more of a window. Not streaming as much, but yeah, that is an interesting one. Now, we've had a question in chat.
Yeah, so I should be reading the comments here, but when watching what I'm doing on track, I know we had a very good question from Richie, and that's a very valid question as well, about the HHTCR series. That is the big final is on Saturday night, and if what's his name, Scotty Senior, if he wins and Jack is second, then there's going to be a tie, and we've got to figure out what to do.
Oh, 1v1. 1v1. That'd be incredible. I think we would all tune in and watch that.
Do you think?
Absolutely.
I think we should start in the back of the grid, I think we should maybe do a reverse grid.
Yeah.
And we could have maybe the title, whoever, for the last race that we do on Saturday, have everyone, do it reverse grids apart from Scotty and Jack, and then have them starting from the back, and the rest of us who are last, probably me, starting at the front, and I might have a chance to win something, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what would be the best thing, to be fair. Does Richie have any ideas?
Well, I suppose the other question, and a few people are saying that they would like to see this also. They're asking for an interview with yourself and Richie.
All right.
Is that something you'd consider with Richie? Because obviously Richie is very big in the GT Sport community. He's also put these open lobbies on, which is very much what I'm all about now with regards to the GT Sport community. Obviously, without going into it with this stream, it's not about the dailies for me anymore. It's about connecting with sort of like-minded people that want to put on these events for those that are actively involved in the GT Sport community. So, is that something you do for Richie?
Yeah, absolutely. If Richie wants to come on the show, absolutely, I'd be more than happy to. More than happy to.
Well, there you go, Richie.
The offer's on the table.
I'll tell you what, Hugh, you're definitely sending it, aren't you?
And well, now that no one else wants, well, to be fair, some of the big guys that came on the show before are no longer able to do it because they're just too busy. So we just can't. I have asked as politely as I can, but without kind of forcing them to come on the show, they won't do it now. So this is our kind of dilemma as the big guys have grown to such a level. It is very hard for them to put time aside, and they need to look at what suits them or suits their kind of role and what they do. So we've got to look at what we can do. So, and you know what, I really enjoyed the last interview that we did. That had lots of the people like Deadeye Delboy and Mike Rogers Racing, and who else did we have? We had I'm trying to think. We had obviously Mikel, and we had Valerio, and we had Kirith. I'm trying to think who else we had on the show. But it was so nice just having the range of guys on the show that just wanted to be there to ask the questions, to have fun with it. I know that we've had Darren before on our podcast, and we totally scared him rigid when it was Jonathan and Rue, and we got him to ask questions and to talk about things he didn't think he'd be talking about. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, so you know what? I'm there for the sim racing community. So whoever wants to come on the show is absolutely welcome to come on the show, and let's have some fun. Let's have some fun talking about the sport we love.
Well, this is it. I think it'd be great having an interview with Richie, because obviously, I mean, he is saying in chat he doesn't race much. Why would he be interviewed? But I think it's that perception that I'm trying to break. I don't necessarily. And again, you mentioned that you want to interview the fast guys. I'm just waiting for you to come back round, by the way. Unless you're waiting for me, are you?
All right. And I'm just halfway down the circuit. I'll come and.
Yeah, that's okay. I was trying to read chat and went to the gravel pit, but no, I'm just trying to break that sort of, you've interviewed all the top guys, and that's awesome. We all want to see that, but then I sort of considered to myself, well, there's a lot of people, sort of, in a sense, in shoes like myself, where we are trying to make something out of all of this, and it kind of made me realise that I bet there's a lot of people out there, thousands, hundreds of thousands, that are streaming. They're putting the effort in, they're putting the time away, but they're actually small. Hello. Okay. Yep. Good. They're smaller YouTubers. So perhaps you may find. Some gold in the mud, if you will, is what I'm trying to say there, and perhaps give them more exposure. And I guess if they are naturally a performer, an entertainer, a presenter, then they could perhaps have a little bit more success from your channel, because I think you've interviewed the greats, you've done that, you've got your name, you've got that credibility. So perhaps, it's just another idea for you, because I know you're obviously looking at new ideas.
No, I mean, that is the thing, and I just want, because I think sometimes when you can compete with people, and also when you can't, and sometimes that's quite a hard thing to accept, because you look at your channel and you look at other people's channels and you think, oh, wouldn't it be amazing, if we could get 10,000 subscribers, if we could get, because I know people say, well, I don't really worry about the numbers, but you do, because it pays you.
Yes.
And it's quite hard. If you're being honest, you kind of think, I would like that. I would like to be able to get something out of YouTube, because you put a lot of work in. So you want to, if you have, once your numbers start growing, even like myself, where we're at like 570 odd, subscribers, which it has taken a long time, and I very much appreciate everyone who is subscribed, because it's you're almost battling for every one that you get sometimes. You've got to have content that hopefully people like and people want to watch, and that people find his value in it. And all credit to the guys that have the big channels, because they've been able to make really good content. And I appreciate people watching my content, because clearly it's maybe not as good as other people's, but hopefully it's got enough things that are unique and funny and hopefully that you enjoy, that it keeps you coming back, which is really very kind, because there's nothing better than when you're doing an interview or you're racing, doing a stream, and that people are watching and commenting and just having fun and making fun of what's been going on, and makes you smile, makes you laugh, and that's what I hope to be able to do to everyone who's watching, that they will put a smile on their face. And if they think, well, if this guy can do it, anyone can do it, it should be all right. Because it's tough. But now I've almost forgotten the question. We would like to be successful, but I think you have to know how you can compete and what is your angle, because in effect, YouTube is a massive marketplace, and you have to kind of get your bit of the market. And that is a tricky thing to do, and I wish everyone the best in doing it, because if you can make it, all credit to you. I think you do that's a great achievement.
Yes, absolutely. That all started from me saying interviewing smaller people, and I think, like Richie says, why do you want to interview me? I'm not a racer. I think that's the perception that I want to break, because it's not all about, this is just my opinion here, it's not all about the fastest people, it's about the community, I feel. And the majority of people that do this, 99.9% of us are never going to do anything more with racing than on GT Sport. So I think perhaps involving the community somehow would be more beneficial. But I think, like I mentioned earlier with Super GT, I think because he was himself, and because when I watch his videos, they're very funny, he's laughing at the things that happen in GT Sport and Forza and all these sorts of things. It's just being himself, which then opens up my next question, like, what is it that got you into motorsport, and why is it that you're trying to grow your channel? Because for me, it's all about the love for motorsport, and I'm big time into rally at the minute. I can't express how much I love that, but again, that's just who I am and my passions. So why did you get all into this?
I've loved cars from the word go. From as soon as I could probably say the word car, I was car crazy, and I used to drive my dad insane, because everything I was talking about was cars. And he would say at the breakfast table, please talk about anything, just not cars. And I used to drive everybody insane with it all. So I just love being about cars. I always wanted to drive. It was really, and I wanted to drive fast. That's part of my little motto, is the fun motto, but drive fast and try not to crash. I just always saw myself as a driver. And then when you're very young, you think, oh, I'm going to be a racing driver. I've got what it takes to be a racing driver. So I used to daydream all the time when I was at primary that I'd be a racing driver. But I knew I was far too lazy and didn't have the work ethic or the ability really probably to do it. But you kind of wish as a child these kind of things, you know. And then I was very fortunate because my father knew people in the Scottish Borders who were in the Scottish Motor Club, and they used to go to race meetings at Ingliston, just outside Edinburgh Airport, and there was a track there. And there still is a kind of the remains of an old track. They have the Highland Show on the same grounds. And in the late 80s, I went with another wee boy, and this one of the racing doctors, because they had to have a GP on site during a race event. And I used to go and watch the racing because his wife would look after us, as we were only about 12, 13, and then he would do all the medical stuff that he had to do. So we started to see real racing from a very young age, and in those days you could go into the pits at Ingliston and actually sit in the cars. It was that good, you know, people would just let you sit in their cars and stuff and fiddle around. I mean, goodness knows how many cars I ruined and setups I ruined by playing around with gearboxes and brake balance and goodness knows what any other lever that was actually available to push, because I used to sit in cars, so I probably completely wrecked their chances of winning anything by sitting in the car. But yeah, no, I mean, it was amazing, and I was what they call a runner. So before the computers and everything like that were used, when they had a qualifying session, they would record all the times, and then they would send me to run up with the results and put it onto a timing board, a kind of community board, and all the drivers would be waiting there to see their times come up, and I would plaster it up on the wall, and they would either be happy with me or not when they saw their time, you know. So it immediately instilled in me a love for motor racing, and from a very early age. And my good friend Dr. Melville, who was the doctor at the time for Ingliston for the races that I was going to, he had done the Monte Carlo Rally way back in the 60s.
Oh,
and
wow.
when you went into his house, it was unbelievable. As a kid, it was like, this is just like your dream. He had the old trophies on the wall, he had the old posters and pictures of Monaco, of the great drivers. You know, it was just like going into your you know, what you would want to have in your house about all your favourite kind of motor racing collections. And he loved to talk about motorsport and cars, so of course it was great for me, you know.
Absolutely.
So that really inspired me. So I remember watching my first ever Grand Prix, that although I didn't watch it live, I recorded it on a VHS video, and it was Nigel Mansell racing in 1986
Nigel Mansell.
at Adelaide when his tyre blew, and I had the highlights, because at the time the BBC I think did the highlights show, and it was the middle of the night, so I couldn't stay up for it, but my parents had allowed me to record it, and then I watched it after that. So I actually watched that race. Unknowingly, you know, witnessed Mansell's tyre blow out and all that kind of stuff, you know, and then Prost winning the title. And so I watched it here and there from that year onwards, although it was really towards the early 90s that I started to watch it consistently, when I was about 15. And I was a big Mansell fan, loved it when he was at Ferrari, then when he went to Williams. I was a huge Mansell fan. I even had Nigel Mansell driving gloves.
Wow, yeah. That's so cool.
Which I've been looking for now that I'm driving a bus. But I don't think my mum has them anymore, unfortunately. It's probably worth a bit of money now. But yeah, so that's kind of what gave me the early part. And then I started watching Senna. And when Mansell left to go to America, I became a huge Senna fan, partly because of his Christian faith, because I was very much at the time looking to see what faith was all about and what Christianity was all about.
Yep.
And I got all his videos and I watched them over and over again, and he just mesmerised me with his talks and his speeches and all of that, you know, how he went into his attitude for racing and all of that kind of thing. So I became a huge Senna fan, and everyone who's a Senna fan will remember the 1st of May 1994, what you were doing on that day when he was killed in that horrendous accident at Imola. And that's kind of, so, but I mean, I still kept up with F1 after that, but it had a big influence, because it no longer, Formula 1 at that point was probably my life, to be fair, and motorsport was kind of everything in my life. But after that, it made me realise that your heroes are not immortal, you know. And when your life is completely drawn by somebody or by a sport, you can miss an awful lot of other things in your life, you know. So I guess after he died, it made me question what I really kind of thought was the number one thing in my life, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, it was interesting, but Formula One has a huge place in my heart. I love it to bits. Even the current lot I love quite a bit. But they were the biggest influences in my kind of Formula One in terms of my interest in F1 and motorsport.
Yeah. So, what is your opinion on? I guess I've got two questions here. The first question is, what are your opinions on what motorsport is today compared to what it was back then? Because I was born in '88. You know, and you mentioned something that happened in '86, which because motorsport was very what's the word? Visceral, brutal. It was all about let's try and get fast, and then obviously things aren't a problem until they become a problem, and obviously a few deaths and whatnot. And now it's all about safety and like the rally cars, 750 horsepower Group B cars with, you know,
incredible,
absolutely zero aids, no LSDs. But now we've got what 300, 380, I believe, is it? And all the LSDs and traction controls and ABS and all this sort of stuff. So it's compared quite a lot. So that was my first question. How does racing compare? And my second question, which I'm asking at the same time, is what is your opinion of the Lewis and Max incidents?
Well, the first one I think, as Murray Walker would say, it's very hard to compare seasons or in terms of, you know, different times of F1, isn't it? I think there's no doubt about it, there was a much bigger feeling of bravado in the 80s and the 90s, you know, when you had that famous picture of Mansell, Senna, Piquet, Prost sitting on the wall. I mean, my goodness, he would have killed to have figured, you know, there'd be a fly on the wall to be able to actually hear what they were saying privately. Because they knew that they were big stars, you know. It was macho, it was, you know, you had all the kind of stuff that went along with that, you know. You had the pit girls, you had James Hunt doing the commentary along with Murray Walker. It was a completely different, you know, totally un-PC, you know, it was all about how strong you were and how good, you know, how fast you were. You know, they had fun, you know. Look, it was an amazing kind of crazy atmosphere, but it was lovable, and that's why so many people of our age, you know, look back to that and think how fortunate we were to be able to witness it. It's a bit sanitized now, to be fair, I think, and I'm not a massive fan of the hybrid engines, not because they're not, you know, they're obviously efficient and Formula One goes with new technologies and so on, but the noise, it has to have noise. And you know, when you have a V12 with a Lacey, you know, revving this thing to 18,000 RPM and incredible starts and all, you know, all the most amazing sound. Even the V10s, I mean, that was the big thing we saw last year. Remember at Abu Dhabi last year when Alonso was driving the old Renault V10 and Hamilton was being interviewed, and he had to stop the interview because the sound was that loud and that incredible. They just wanted to listen to it. I mean, that's what motivates, to me, you know. That's what, when you go to a Grand Prix or you go to a testing event, and that's what you hear, it just lives with you for the rest of your life. And that's what it, you know, it is an incredible thing, a Grand Prix event. And to be fair, the new cars have gotten a bit louder and a bit more interesting, and I think they look incredible. And I think this year's cars look amazing, to be fair. And I hope they sound as good as they can too. And I hope they kind of don't go electric, because then there will be no sound at all, or it's going to sound like a Formula E, which just sounds like a vacuum cleaner. It's not a race. I mean, it looks like a racing car and it goes like one, but there's no sound hardly, you know, or it doesn't sound very, very nice, and it's kind of, well, I don't know, it's not for me, but so I think in that way. But I mean, we've had phenomenal races, incredible few years of races, with, you know, Lewis mainly winning, and this year, of course, Max got it. I am a Lewis fan. I'm a fan of his driving, not his politics. But
Right.
I do think I was annoyed that the way that the season finished. I think it was very unfair. And as much as I think Max Verstappen is a great racer, I don't believe that he deserved to win that championship in that way. I think if he had been ahead on the track, if it had been very competitive, but clearly the Mercedes had that little bit of an edge that day. I think it was Lewis's race, and unfortunately, it was almost like because he got away with the first incident when they overtook on the first lap. It almost felt to me as if Michael Massey had to repay Red Bull at some point to give them back the advantage, and it was just a matter of time before eventually that would be done. And then, of course, at the very end, that's what they did because they were able to come into the pits and get fresh tyres and throw Lewis out there.
Yep.
And I just think, is this for Netflix or is this actually for the fans?
Absolutely. Do you know, that is a perfect way to describe it, Hugh. Is this for Netflix or is it for the fans? When it happened, right, because I paid for the day, because I don't have Sky or anything, I went on Now TV and I paid for the day pass, I think it was a tenner, to watch the F1, the final. Kobe came with me, was at my house, TV was on, blah, 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 we had a pizza, was having an awesome time. Really enjoyed the race. Yep, Lewis has got this. Nice one. Thing he has a crash. I was like, oh, well, this makes it more interesting. And then the people, the commentators were sort of saying, well, they have to let... I don't know whether you have to re-quote me on this, but the rule book states that you have to let all cars pass, not half the cars pass. And when I realised that, and the moment I realised that Max Verstappen was behind Lewis, I thought, he's going to lose this. And there and then, your comment of, is this for Netflix or is this whatever you said, like, that's absolutely right. Because all I kept saying to my friends was, that right there, and now the F1, it reminds me of the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, because it's all about promotion, it's all about hype, it's all about excitement. Like, my heart was through the roof when that was going on. I don't support either of them any more than the other, but when it happened, I just thought, wow. That was absolutely for views, entertainment, money. It because the amount of excitement that created and anger, it's all publicity, isn't it?
It's
But would Max have ever won a championship with Lewis if that didn't happen?
I think so. Because when you look at how impressive he was at the beginning of the year, I genuinely thought Red Bull were going to win it earlier on because Max was ahead quite early. He had a great car and he was making the best of it, and quite often beating Lewis. And it was only because Mercedes came back that things were kind of levelled out a bit, and there was lots of controversy in the way it was done. It was quite a. I just think already Netflix is kind of advertising. See the behind the scenes of the best season in history, or the most. You kind of know it's been done for them, and that's the route that it's taken. So I just don't want fake racing. I want real real competition. And if you get it on the day, as I think Lewis deserved on the day, because he had won that race. He had done everything he needed to do, and then for it to be taken away with some very controversial plays by Michael Massey, I just think people don't think that's not really racing, because it's made for TV and it's not really, you've got to stick to the rules, you've got to be consistent. I think for me, my issue is that Michael Massey, as good as he is, took far too much of the race into his own hands, and I think the championship into his own hands.
Yeah. And
when he started playing with it in the few races before the end of the season, he suddenly realised, I'm in way over my head here. This is a championship that is bigger than what I can control or influence. And so it was all going to fall apart. And I think he has lost the trust of a lot of F1 fans. I think maybe even young and old, And I don't think he's done very much as well for the kind of, especially nowadays with the internet, you've got a lot of people that troll particular drivers or particular fans of, whatever driver. If you're a Lewis fan and you go on Facebook, people will say, oh, you're this and that. If you're a Max fan, you'll have other people saying you're this and that, So I don't think it's done anything for actually bringing the whole community together. If you can do that, I think it's made it an awful lot worse. And I think they'll be warned not to do this again. I think it would be very foolish to carry on with that kind of behaviour. I think Michael Massey has to just stick by the rules and not start playing about and doing what he wants to do with it. You never would have found that with the previous chap. What was his name? Wasn't Sid Watkins, he was an old doctor. Charlie thingy. What was his name? Oh, the one who used to control F1. The one who used to be the race director.
I can't think of his surname.
Charlie, the surname will come up. I know that Ian will know. Jerry F1 will know.
I was going to say, get that in chat.
Simon will know. Simon will definitely know. But because he sadly passed away, Charlie
Whiting,
yeah, that was it. I mean, nobody would have messed with him. He had a seniority that nobody would question, So yeah, I think the current ones are learning through their mistakes, but that was a pretty big mistake, I reckon, at Abu Dhabi.
Yes, I do agree with that one. Now, before I ask the next question, should we change cars?
Yeah, why not?
You can either choose, or I was thinking maybe we could jump in the Super Formula since we've touched on F1.
Yeah, exactly. Do I exit out of this, or do I need to...
Yeah, just exit out, and then any car's available, so...
Yeah, Jerry's saying the trouble, I'm looking at the comments now, when you have owners like Liberty Media, that's what they were doing, yeah. And I knew that Jerry would come up with the answer for that one. Yep. No, that's the thing. But it's it's Simon saying, I remember the 1st of May 1994. That weekend in general, I will never forget. But it's certainly it's an incredible. There are days in your life that day was something. But previously, the year before, of course, I'd been at the European Grand Prix at Donington, and I saw Ayrton Senna win that race, and that was just the most incredible day I've ever had in my life, I think. And it's one of those standout occasions that you'll never forget. But so to witness that, and to witness one of your heroes win a race like that was incredible. And I hope I can get to another one. I'd love to go to Abu Dhabi because I love that track, and just something about it, the glamour of the place.
Yeah.
I just love it. And the fact that it starts off as a day race, then it goes into a night race, it just looks amazing. So I'd love to see that one. I think that would be one of my picks. I'm trying also the Azerbaijan. That track looks incredible, and I think the buildings round and about it looks really amazing. So I think if I could choose to go to a GP, I think that one would be on the list.
Absolutely. I think I have been to Abu Dhabi. I was very fortunate to stay in the Burj Al Arab as well, but you do get a sense of some of the people over there, or I don't quite know the words, not necessarily governments, but people that are high up, such as the guy that's now doing the F1. They have a serious amount of money and power, and that was one of the things I realised in Abu Dhabi. It's all about money over there, all about money.
Oh, yeah.
And when I went and I was staying in the Burj Al Arab, was looking out of the Burj Al Arab's window onto Palm Island, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
Where it was built, but they were building it, so they were like halfway done, so you could see the Palm Island that had come up through the water, you got a sense of this place is, it blows London out the water. The money they have is unreal. But I think Abu Dhabi Grand Prix would most certainly be on my bucket list.
And that's it.
So go on.
Sorry, carry on.
No, it's okay.
I'm trying to think with the other. I mean, Azerbaijan. Obviously, Monaco is a great place to visit, but it doesn't always make the best Grand Prix though. I think you can go spend a lot of money going to watch it and not necessarily get a great Grand Prix. But yeah, so that's quite. I mean, I've been able to get to Monaco to have I did a day visit there a few years back and had a fantastic time. But yeah, so I imagine the atmosphere at Monaco on race day must be incredible. But yeah, there's quite a few different tracks. So I mean, I've never been to Silverstone for the GP, and that's everyone that goes to Silverstone says it's a fantastic event. So that has to be on the books at some point. It's definitely. But I love Goodwood, things like the Festival of Speed. I mean, that's a phenomenal. That's one of the best weekends you can ever have. I class it as car heaven. If you like cars and motorsport, you have to go to Goodwood because it's just the best thing ever.
I've never actually been to Goodwood, and I'm very excited to go. I was watching it yesterday with. They start off with the classes, don't they? And they start off with the older ones, and then they go through the faster ones. And I love it, and I find it really interesting to see the differences from all of the cars. Because obviously, I think the one I was watching, someone had a bit of an accident, and they were in the NASCAR, and he had quite a big accident just before the last turning, before the finish line, where they do that sprint. But it was quick. But it was really interesting to see how cars have developed throughout the years and the times that they can actually put on. But I've never been to Goodwood. I have been to Santa Pod. I've been to see the drag strips. I don't know whether you've been to Santa Pod.
No, I've never been there.
Oh my good God!
You used to watch it on Top Gear because they always used to have like Tony Mason or somebody doing a drag race like Tiffany Dell, or one of the bikers doing a kind of bike drag race in something they had driven. And having a go there, so I've seen it. I've seen races and events from there, but never live. I've never actually been to the actual kind of raceway itself.
No, well, we've been once or twice. I can't remember. We've been twice. I think we've been twice. No, I've been once. The reason why I say twice is because the first day we went there, we got there and they called it off because I think it was a little bit too wet, so we had to go back. But the good thing is they refund you the money or they give you the ticket for when you go back. So yeah, we went back, we took both kids, we took Kobe and Neo, and they do a full show. So you turn up there, you've got drifting, you've got monster trucks, they had a Peugeot 205 with a jet engine, that made Neo cry actually when that started up. It was so loud, but yeah, the sound. Wheel and connected. Oh, there we go. The sound, Hugh, of 5,000 horsepower is something I can't explain. Like you've mentioned the sound of the old V12 Ferraris, and I wholeheartedly know that is going to be beautiful. But if you've never heard 5,000 horsepower, rockets engine up side by side with another one, oh my God! We stayed the night there, Hugh. We was camping. And when we woke up to the sound of these dragsters starting their engines, and I can't explain the feel. Well, I can explain it because you felt it, but it's just beyond anything you've ever felt. It's like you get the same sound. It's a little bit more visceral, of course, but you feel the subsonic frequencies hit your chest and go through the ground. Like we were camping and we was waking up because the floor was going and this. There's just something else about that. So I'm wholeheartedly going to go to Goodwood, but I do recommend, if you haven't been, go to Santa Pod just for the auditory experience. But also there's something else, seeing a 5,000 horsepower drag car absolutely send itself down them strips, and they've done a quarter of a mile in whatever it is, 3-4 seconds. It's just, you know, they're there in front of you. There's a massive amount of sound. It's almost like God himself has arrived and is pissed off, and after 3 seconds they've just gone, you know. It's such a playing the experience, but it's an amazing experience that everyone that's into motorsport and loves the sound should go.
Oh, it's quite. I remember when they had a jet-powered bike at Goodwood, and it was doing kind of burnouts up the hill. And it was quite a thing to witness, because again the sound is fantastic, and the guy is just sitting there on this huge kind of, it was like a bomb about to go off, you know, and he's kind of hanging on to it, and managing to make the thing go in the direction he wants it to go. But yeah, the sound was incredible. It's almost like watching a spaceship take off, really, isn't it? Because the kind of power that goes through, and so it's quite a machine. But Jetbird stuff. It does sound like a lot of fun, and obviously the noise. Probably worth definitely taking ear protectors if you've got younger children, isn't it?
Yes.
Because they won't thank you for it otherwise. But it
was going to be a very there, Hugh.
That was quite a slide there. But yeah, so no, it was. It is, that does sound like a fantastic event. But I have to admit, Goodwood for us, I actually won tickets to go and see it the first time. That was back in 2013. And it was my mate Jonathan who came with me. And the funny thing was that I'd won these tickets at a driving event. And I just assumed that my wife wouldn't want to go. So I phoned up Jonathan and said, "Oh, I won these tickets to Goodwood. Do you want to come?" And he said, "Yes, but have you not asked your wife?" And I went, "Oh, she won't be interested in that." And well, I'm still suffering the wrath of my wife for not taking her and taking John instead, because these were proper tickets. These were really nice. It was worth about £800 a piece, and it wasn't just a matter of going to Goodwood. You got into the house for early morning tea, mid-morning tea. You then got lunch, and then you got afternoon tea as well. And we sat at the table that the Sky commentators had been at the night before.
Wow.
So it was a phenomenal event. And I was not at all aware of what it was going to be like, because I'd have thought, it's a big car show. I'd never been. So I didn't really know what it was. But Jonathan had been to the very first one. And back in 1993, he had been to the first one with his dad. And of course, it had just started out. So even he was blown away at the first one, how good it was. So he was going back for his kind of 20-year anniversary. But they have everything from planes, trains, and automobiles just about. It was incredible. I don't think actually they have trains, to be fair, but they have pretty much everything else that has wheels and that can move. But no, it was an incredible event. And I remember I had this ancient old Seat Alhambra kind of MPV, and I'd gotten tickets to the supercar car park. So when I arrived, I would just be able to go straight to the main event, and it was a wee bit, you didn't have to walk as far, and you could park next to all these amazing cars. And I put the sticker on the car, and to the marshal's amazement, he kind of looked twice when he saw this wreck of an Alhambra. I mean, it was like 20 years old at the time, and it was an absolute heap. And he says, "Okay, yep, we believe you. You can go in and park in there." I think I parked next to a Ferrari F40 in the car park. And there was this old Alhambra that basically the wipers seized that day. When we got back at the end of the day, the wipers didn't work. And I thought, if this thing goes on fire, which you could well likely do, the insurance bill is going to be something else, because all the cars parked next to me were all like hypercars worth multi-millions, and there was this 50 quid say Alhambra that thankfully had comprehensive insurance. But I don't think Admiral would have been pleased when they got quoted that kind of bill. What did they wipe out? Well, a Bugatti, an F40, and a
yeah.
So it was the most amazing event. And when we got there, the first thing we walked from the top of the hill down, and we came across Porsche. There was a Porsche stand. And it was well, this is why I say it's like car heaven, because there was a queue of people waiting in this field next to the stand, and it was Porsche Cayenne turbos just rallying in a field. They'd made their own little autocross track thing.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, you just queue up and you could have a go. You didn't have to pay anything. You just went there. I mean, it was unbelievable. It's like your childhood dreams coming true in an event. And then we went down to, we saw the Mercedes stand, and they had all the big cars and all the Formula 1 cars and everything was there. Lots of people on, kind of famous racers and different things. And they decided, just for a laugh, why don't we start up the Mercedes AMG pace car and give it a bit of a rev? So they did. and they just revved it up as much as they could, and the noise is incredible. They put all the flashing lights on and everything else, and everyone's amazed, a big crowd of people. And opposite the Mercedes stand was the Citroen stand. Now you might think that Citroen manufacture cars are nice, but maybe not that exciting. Well, they had a C3, I think it was, World Rally car there, and it was sitting right opposite the Mercedes AMG pace car. And to get their own back, Citroen thought, okay then, if you're going to start up that car, we'll start up the rally car. And they just and this was all as we were walking by. So they started up the World Rally Championship C3 car, Citroen C or DX3, sorry.
Wow.
And they just started revving the crap out of that thing as well. It was unbelievable. You couldn't have imagined and dreamt of a more incredible day. It was just the best ever kind of thing. And we met people like Tiffany Dell. I'm sure it was either Nico Rosberg or one of the F1 drivers literally walked right past us as if we were in the same crowd. It was amazing, the people that you might meet and see. It's just an incredible atmosphere. It was phenomenal. Then you obviously have the Formula 1 cars that race up the hill. It was just unbelievable. It's one of the standout days that I'll never forget.
Yeah, that does sound absolutely incredible, to be fair. I think, well, again, there's a couple of questions here. I guess I'll just start with the first one. I mean, are you into rally yourself then?
A little bit. I've played Dirt Rally too, and it's really good. It's hard as anything, but it's really good. And I've one of the first people I interviewed on my show was the late Andrew Cowan. Now, he was a rally driver in the 1960s and 70s, and he was the team manager for the Mitsubishi rally team when it had the incredible success of Mäkinen and his mates at the time, back in the 90s and early 2000s. And he did the London to Sydney rally, it took him 10 days to get there. But he did these incredible rallies. He was an amazing chap that I interviewed only as a podcast that time, and unfortunately he was very ill not long after I interviewed him. He was well into his 80s at this point, and he'd asked me back. He said, "Look, the next time you come, bring a camera, and I'll show you around my museum." And this was in his own. He had this lovely house and estate, and he didn't, because my father knew him, so I've been able to keep in touch. And he said he'd love to be interviewed, so I went to his house to interview him. Again, it was a dream come true, because this was a real rally driver, and he'd actually done it. And he was telling me all about what it was like to be a rally driver, a proper one, But unfortunately, I was never able to see his collection. He was going to give me a personal tour of his cars. He had Fords, he had all sorts of cars, incredible cars, millions of pounds worth of vehicles in his collection. So that was unfortunate. I'd always hoped to try and go back and be able to see him, but unfortunately he passed away not long, about within a year of my first interview with him. These guys are crazy, they just do what you would never think is possible.
Yes.
They fly, they go into woodland and tiny little tracks, and you think, oh goodness, this is not good.
They're a foot away from death so many times, aren't they?
Yeah. No, I have huge respect for them, because they really are putting their life into their own hands. I think you don't have the safety of runoff areas and in so many of these big rallies, and they just drive like the clappers the whole time.
Yeah.
So I do have I'd love to go and see a big rally, and I kind of feel that I watched the Lombard RAC rally way back in 1990 when it was in Cumbria and places like that. So I think since it's gone to the Rally of Wales, I don't think it's been that popular. I think it needs to come back up to Scotland and North East, and give it a better. It needs more people need to see it. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it gets great coverage because it's in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And, I think
you don't really hear about it, do you?
No.
Whereas F1, it's all over the place. Rally seems to be somewhat of a niche, but I don't think they've got that much. Doesn't seem like they've got that much money behind the promotional side. But like you mentioned earlier with the F1 cars, and then becoming hybrid, 'cause I I think rally is probably my most favourite motorsport, and since actually getting into dirt rally, it just the way it makes me feel is something else. And you know, but what I was going to say was
because it's based on great cars.
Yes.
You know, I think that's why the era was so good. You know, when you could buy a Peugeot 205 GTI, you know, or if you saved up, you know, or you bought an old second-hand one. For a long time, they were quite cheap, or they were certainly attainable. You know, you could buy a lot of the cars that they were racing. The Audi Quattro. If you couldn't afford a Quattro, you could get an Audi GT, and that was a great-looking car. The noise, you know, the style. Maybe it's because we're a bit older and we look at cars of when we were young and thinking how much better they are of those of today. But there's no doubt. I think they are. They were certainly more characterful. I mean, they may have been unreliable, not as economical, and probably not as safe, but they were far more stylish and far more interesting. You know, you drive cars today, and so many of them are utterly boring and have absolutely nothing going for them. You know, and it's like, you know, in the old days it was never like that. Even if it was a dull car, it was still maybe quite good to drive. If you owned like a Nissan Sunny, I mean, it had a terrible reputation for looking as boring as the worst car in the world, but it drove really well. You know, so at least it had, you know, it had kind of character to it in some ways. But today's cars, with all these kind of, I think with this desperate aim for electric, is just, I think for me it's destroyed the car industry. And all the great cars that we had even just 3 or 4 years ago are now old tech, and they're going to be banned. So it's like, that to me has probably affected my motorsports kind of, or my love for motorsport so much as well, because the results of motorsport meant you could go to your showroom and buy something. You know, if you love, you know, if like when Alfa Romeo did touring cars way back in the early 90s when they did the BTCC, you know, or when Volvo did it with the Volvo Estate, you could go to Volvo and say, right, I want that one, please. You know,
yes.
It was enthusiasm. You know, the car it represents freedom. It represents excitement and adventure, and I think that's been drained out of the car industry now. And certainly, you know, at school and in education, we don't love cars anymore. We don't kind of value the freedom that they have given us. Instead, you know, all we're told about is the climate and everything else. So, you know, it's kind of they're taking away a great love for driving, because if you have a great car, you want to drive it fast. You want to have fun with it, and you know, this is your chance to have a bit of adventure. And it's very hard to do that now, because nobody, you know, everyone wants you to be responsible, or supposedly responsible, you know.
Yeah, I'm really relating to what you're saying here. I feel very drawn to what you're saying right now, because I think
it's
you
like
are
watching
right,
the
aren't
early
you?
Top Gear. You know, like when Clarkson and Hammond, they would say, right, what is the best car manufacturer in history? And they came up, was it Lancia, I think it was, that they came up, or who made the most incredible cars. And it was, you know, because they had passion behind it. You know, it was mad, and cars that would rust away to nothing in a matter of a few months almost, you know. But they loved them because they were ahead of their time, or they had character that nothing else had. You know, the car means something to you. And I think what I always find amazing today is that when I overtake somebody in my cheapest car that's available in Britain, you know, my little Dacia Logan Estate, which is diesel, but in the fact that I can overtake people and it says something, because it's not very fast. But I'm thinking, why is somebody doing 40 miles an hour in a 60 zone? Now, in the old days, it would have been your old granny, your old Auntie Mary out for a wee drive, and you know, she's got her hat and her basket on the back parcel shelf, you know, and she's out for a wee drive. And you can understand she might not want to go that fast. But today, it's young people. I overtake folk who are crawling along the road at 40 mile an hour, and they're young. They're like in their 20s. And I'm thinking, what's happened to you, man? You know, why are you crawling along? You know, and it's like, it's not driving Miss Daisy. You know, this is have some fun, have a laugh at least. You know,
yes.
That is what not showing people what cars are about. You know, that's the consequence of it. You know, of just you know, we've got a whole, you know, generation of people who don't really see the value of great cars anymore. And with all this environmental stuff, it's just killing the industry. And I don't. Yes, you can have amazing, or electric cars that are very, very fast. I've driven a Tesla and things like that, and a Polestar, but they just don't do it for me at all. They're very quick, but after 100 miles, it's out of gas or out of electric, because if you drive it like that, it's not going to go very far.
Yeah.
So, and there's no noise, so there's no kind of visceral thing.
Deal.
But,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think this car's wheeling.
All right, he might well be.
Yeah, where was I going to go from there? The next 2022's rally, yeah, it is, it's wheeling. 2022 WRC cars are hybrid.
Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right with regards to, I think because so many of us are on these sims because we can't really get what we want from the real thing. I think there's so much to be said for that, and I could go on for a long time there, but I'm not going to go on to it because we do have a question from Stephen Scott.
Oh, yeah, good.
Which is go change your car, Hugh, as well. Go get a different car. Maybe pick your favourite GT Sport car. That would be cool. I'd like to see what that's about. But while you're doing that, what are some of Hugh's favourite moments during his interviews? From Stephen Scott.
Oh, that's a good question. Good question. My favourite moments. That is hard. I've always been really impressed with the detail that David Perel went into about the mindset of a racing driver, because he's actually been there and done it. I thought that the level of detail of what you need to do, how you even take a corner from apex to apex, all of that was he was always fascinating to listen to. And very much always appreciate the fact that from someone who's out there racing and doing all this stuff, he would give me the time of day to come on the show. So yeah, that was really good. I also enjoyed one of the really early interviews. I mentioned Andrew Cowan. That was a fascinating interview. But also Douglas Niven, who is the cousin of the late Jim Clark. So you could imagine the stuff that we didn't talk about on the show, but we were able to talk about when I was talking to him. But just imagine you shared a house with Jim Clark. A legend of legends. So that was something else. I'm trying to think what else. Who else have we had? The kind of standout moments. I think as we're having Mikhail Hizal, his integrity and he's so down to earth, and his values that came across in the interview, and even just talking to him, really, really impressed me. And I thought, my goodness, that is a man that will go somewhere for the right reasons. Very, very impressed. There are so many great guys that have come on the show and that make you laugh, and they're just real people, everyday F1 fans. When we had Simon's run was great, and of course Darren, and so many of the guys, and of course Scotty himself. We had a fantastic interview with him back last year. So yeah, there's so many. Everybody has brought something unique, and I hope that in some way our channel, from the guys that watch us, have then subscribed to their channels and helped to build their viewers up as well, because they deserve it. So no, it's an honour to be able to have all these guys on and learn something from each one of them.
Indeed. I do think you would benefit very well from sort of interviewing others, lower YouTubers and or people that are just involved with the community, because I think, like you're saying, I think your heart's in the right place. You want them to succeed, and you are right. Everyone that you've commentated on, I've found the YouTube channel and I've subscribed, because it's all about community. It's not. Yes, it's about racing, but it's the community. It's the people you meet. And the funny thing is, I think I even said this on your interview. I have made better friends through this than I have got, locally, and I wholeheartedly mean that. Like, some people are just so lovely, and they're there to help. You could just sort of get that sense from them. But I think finding friendships through this way in a motorsport setting, shall we say, this is where it's all at for me. I did a little stream earlier. I went on dirt. I wasn't going to stream because I felt absolutely horrendous. And a few people came on chat. We had Flash Dagger. He popped in to say hello as well, and it's that, it's just being able to connect with everyone, not only in England but from across the globe. And this end of July, August are the hottest months. So end of July, I am arranging a meetup for all of our UK friends. So once I've got all the details sorted, and that I'll be posting it. But obviously we all want you there.
Well, that'd be fantastic.
Yes, Simon's mentioned getting a minibus would be a good idea. I've spoke to Luca. Luca's definitely one of my favourite sim racers or
Luca
people.
Was really good. Really
but
good. Yeah.
I've said to him, get yourself over. You can stay at mine. Use my car, borrow my car, whatever. We'll go somewhere. But we're gonna all meet up. We're going to all go go-karting, so not only can we actually do something in real life, and we can all meet up at the same time. And I think when you mentioned the whole Goodwood thing, I think that would be awesome. That could be another venue where we could all meet up.
There's lots of really good events, though. I mean, even the Blancpain Championship at Silverstone. I mean, it's not maybe quite as popular, but it's a great day out. There's lots of good stuff, and it's probably a bit cheaper as well to get in, depending on what you could do with the tickets and things. But there's lots of great events out there that we could do, or a BTCC event, a touring car event, or something like that. They're usually quite affordable, to be fair.
Yes, I haven't seen BTCC for a long, long time. The last time I was watching that was the rivalry between Plato and, was it Matt Neal? Matt?
Oh yeah, they were classics actually.
Yes, and I watched a YouTube video. I haven't seen it since then, really. And obviously they've got different drivers there and that kind of thing. But the action from BTCC is awesome. And we're also getting a BTCC game this year as well. I don't know if you knew that. I don't know whether it's made by the same people as ACC.
I've heard of that.
Or Codemasters, I think it was.
Yeah, no, I've heard of that. That should be something, actually. That'll be a lot of fun. There we go. Talking of rally cars, as you like this one, you'll see the car I've got now.
Oh, beautiful. I'm going to have to join you with that rally idea, I think. So, you have a favourite rally car, or are you just sort of...
You know what? I have dreams of finding an old barn find of a Lancia Delta Integrale rally car or something.
That would be a dream,
that would be something, wouldn't it? But I love old Alfa Romeos and things like that. I love watching all the barn find programs. That's what really motivates me, to be fair, in terms of motoring and that. And I once saw this incredible video. It's on YouTube, and it's the old Peugeot factory, right? Now it was from the museum, but it was closed off to the public, and this is where they used to house all of their old exhibits and all of their best cars and kind of one-off makes and all the rest of it, and one-off models. But they had all of the Peugeot rally cars from the 80s, not just the 205, but the other cars that preceded it as well, that were all kind of the Group B cars before the 205. And so it was immense, and somebody had managed to get in and take a video of these cars. And they still had the dust on them, but they managed to get up and close and took videos of the best of the cars. But yeah, that was, those kind of vehicles are amazing. Things like Metro 6R4, that was a crazy car. Absolutely nuts, things like that. But the Lancias, the Audi Quattro, of course. I'm trying to think what else was obviously the Peugeot. But I'm trying to think, there's quite a few of them that were pretty amazing of their time. But even things like things like the original Mini, they're phenomenal cars, and they were great rally cars too. So it's there was lots of amazing stuff out there. But I have dreams. I had a dream the other night, to be fair, that I had a collection. I'd managed to find a couple of cars, and would you believe it, one of them was a Vauxhall Nova GTE, but that was kind of like the hot hatch version, and a kind of rally version that they did on the, that was for the road, way back in the kind of late 80s, early 90s. And I also had an Alfa Romeo 155 Silverstone, which was based on, very, very loosely based on the touring car of that same name that was racing in the early 90s that Tarquini had. And I dreamt that I had these two cars in my garage, and I was showing them off to my friends, saying, look what I've been able to find. So that would certainly be on the table. If I could have an Alfa Romeo 155, I would jump at it. My father had one way back in the late 90s, and it was funny because he never had an Alfa Romeo before, but we had a Fiat dealer in the town that we still live in, and he'd been able to get this incredible deal on the next rental, and so my father always liked his cars, and so this Alfa Romeo came up, and it was a 10-month-old 155 2-litre. I can't remember exactly. It was a twin spark. It should have been about £17,000 new at the time, which was quite a lot of money in those days, back in '97. But at 10 months old, it was worth hardly any of that as anyone who's owned a Fiat or a Lancia or an Alfa Romeo. No, they tend to lose quite a bit of money in the first year or so. And he got it for 10 grand. So It was a massive saving, and he had it for years, and he loved it. And my father, he would try and pretend that he wasn't really interested in cars, but he used to like to drive and get on. He was driving this car. It was mad. It was so dangerous. You were kind of relieved every time you got out of the car. But it was so scary. Between my mum and my dad, honestly, you could not. You just wanted to drive because you didn't want to be a passenger. It was as simple as that. It was. They would beat each other with their craziness. But yeah, so my father, I'd go to Stirling with him, and we'd go out for lunch, and because his old school was in Stirling, just near the castle, and he would drive back along, I think it's the M9 coming into Edinburgh, and the Alfa, it was a quick car, and I'd be sitting as the passenger, and he would just be talking away, driving away, and he would just keep going, and the speed would just increase. And bear in mind, my dad was in his late 70s at this point. And I look at the speedo, and he's doing 115 along the motorway in his Alfa, and he's not at all bothered. And he's like, oh yeah, let's look at the nice view. I used to come here during the war and all the rest of it. And you're like, Dad, you're doing 115 mile an hour. And he said, that's nothing. It's so quiet. It can't be. Look at the blooming speedo. He'd be absolutely flying on the motorway, and somehow we never got done. But it was such a good car, and he just loved it. And the funny thing about the Alfa is, when you went round the left-hand bend, the fuel tank said it was full, and then when you went round the right-hand bend, it said it was empty. So it had lots of lovely Italian quirks of dodgy electrics and all of that. But I was so annoyed when he got rid of that car, because nowadays you just can't find them, and it was an amazing machine, absolutely phenomenal. And I had it one year because we went to Indonesia at the end of '97 for a holiday, because my sister-in-law's Indonesian, and we were able to. I was dropping my mum and dad off at the airport, and we were flying out a couple of days later. And I'm sorry, it was in '99. It was for the millennium. That's what it was. I was going out a few days later. So my father said, "Look, can you wash my car, because it was full of mud, because it was quite dirty along the rural roads." Now the thing was, it was freezing cold, it was a bad winter, and at the time they were flying, it was just at Christmas time, so they hadn't been able to wash it. And he says, here are the keys, you go and wash it. So I used the excuse of, Dad, it's really icy, there's no car washes that are open that I can wash it to be able to drive it anywhere I wanted. The other thing that had happened with this car is that it had a hole in the exhaust. Because at that time, nowadays you never need to replace an exhaust on a car.
Yeah.
It seems to last easily. But in the old days, they would, after about 3 or 4 years, it would probably go. Well, the Alfa, it was time to replace it, and it had a big hole in the exhaust. But when you have the hole in the exhaust of an Alfa 2-litre twin spark engine, people know about it. It's a phenomenal noise. It sounds like a touring car, you know. And I drove it like a touring car around the streets of Edinburgh. And it was just, I remember taking Jonathan with me, and we had the biggest laugh racing all around Edinburgh and the borders in this incredible machine. And then when I left it back at the car park for my mum and dad's when they got back from their holiday, they said it wasn't clean, and you know, I'd used probably half a tank of fuel in it, as you do when you're the son, you know, and somebody else was paying for it. It's never got the same amount of fuel as when they left it. And I used the excuse of, well, it was so icy, there was no car washes around to be able to get it cleaned. But I don't think my dad believed me.
As long as you had a good time, eh?
Oh, it was sensational. Yeah, I'd love that car. I want that car back.
And what was the car again?
It was an Alfa Romeo 155 Twin Spark.
I'm just going to Google that because I just want to visualize this. I don't know.
Yeah, the one that I would really like is the Silverstone, which was red and it had black alloys. Looked incredible. A real kind of icon of 1990s BTCC. And in fact, they had the Cloverleaf that raced, I think, in European, is it World Touring Cars and DTM and things. I know Jerry will know. He'll know all the stuff about it. And I know that if Rue Mar is watching, he'll know, because we've bored each other to death talking about it on many occasions. But yeah, it's quite a machine.
Yes, this looks like a beautiful car. What colour was it?
The one that my father had was a kind of champagne beige, which does sound a bit awful, but it was actually really nice. But I'd like a red one. It's got to be Alfa Romeo or the red Alpha, the Silverstone version. But which they've actually got that car in Assetto Corsa, which is one of my favourite games. You can race that one, which is good fun.
That actually does bring me on to the other question. How do you personally, how would you describe and how do you enjoy the differences between GT Sport and ACC? Like, if you used to have to compare them both, how would you do that?
As much as I like GT Sport, and it does have a huge amount going for it, there's no doubt. But I'm no longer a massive fan of it. I think the dailies have put me off, because maybe 3 or 4 years ago I would have enjoyed doing the dailies, and I wish I had streamed my racing earlier, because I think I missed a lot of that, and they were good fun. Now I find that maybe the combinations don't really, I don't find them particularly appealing. Sometimes I do, but usually I don't. And the quality of the driving can also be pretty ropey. So it's you know, and I can't, you know, I know I've done dodgy moves myself, but I try and be clean if I can and where possible. So that's kind of put me off. Where I find ACC really good is like when I do Thea's like Three's a Crowd and things like that on a Wednesday night. I just adore it. I love it. When I first started, I could barely drive. I could barely keep the cars on the track.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed. I thought, this is a terrible game. It's nothing like real life, you know. It's awful. And then I started to work on it, and something just clicked. And I was able to get so much more from it. But now, doing it properly, it's so fulfilling. It's like I think the game that I get the most fulfillment on, because if I know I've done well in a race and I've climbed up some places, or I've managed to go the full 15 minutes without crashing, I've done well. You know, it's quite it's really, because it's a very, very competitive field, and there's lots of abilities and some top drivers. So if you can get anywhere near them, it's really good. And the thing is, they are so good. The top guys give you space, but we've had some incredibly close moments. But it's always been clean, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've taken a few people out, but that's because of my lack of ability, not theirs. So, but no, I think Assetto Corsa Competizione, I absolutely love it. I do like Assetto Corsa as well, but I need to get the mods for that, because I've got it on PC now.
Jealous.
Which yeah, and I've got content manager, but I need to speak to Matt actually, Matt Evans, because he's the guy that helps Jeff on their channel, and has done a huge amount. So he knows all about ACC and set of course, and he helped me to set it all up originally, but that was just the basic setup. So now I need to get it going to get the rest of it working.
Yes. Now, I'm very, very, very conscious of the GT Sport community, and I think a lot of my viewers have grown because of the GT Sport community.
Yeah.
Now, this is why I wanted to know your opinion, because I want to know if it's just me or whether it seems to be everyone, and I'm pretty sure it is. It does seem to be sort of everyone with the game, because I think the dailies are what has ruined not GT Sport, but ruined the experience for me. And I think one of the problems I have is the amount of bumping that goes on. If there's a tiny space, someone will take it. But if you do that in ACC or Automobilista or something, you're both going to have damaged cars, and you're both going to seriously regret it. And that creates like a level of fear, doesn't it? Which sort of this doesn't produce. But what we're doing now, just driving on all of these different cars on such a beautiful game, is what I love about GT Sport. And you know, I think now, I think the problem is for console users, I've noticed. You see, that's actually another question for you. Do you notice it, because you're using the Logitech G29, aren't you?
Yeah.
Do you notice a difference between force feedback on Assetto Corsa on PC as opposed to console?
They're maybe similar to drive into on the from the console to the PC. There may be slight differences in the feel to it. It's more the graphics that is better, so it just looks a bit more real on the PC because you've got more power to run it. So I've done a lot. It was funny. I naturally did better as I did more practice on the PC version. I did better on that than I did on the PS4 version. I just found it that I was learning, and that's why I like the game so much, because I feel, well, if I do well on ACC and if I'm doing a lot of races there, I can go to Gran Turismo and improve my lap times. So and I can't quite explain why, but I must be learning better techniques on ACC, because it doesn't give you the kind of runoff and the other bits that GT Sport does, but it definitely helps to maximise your good points. I think once you start driving better, it seems to be able to amplify them, and so when you go on to the likes of GT Sport, you seem to do a bit better, or I find that my lap times on time trial are getting a bit faster.
Yes.
But, so no, I do like it in that way, and of course there's other games too. There's that iRacing. I just got Automobilista 2 at Christmas time, and I really like it, actually. Really like it. Just a pity there's not more people playing on multiplayer, because it's really good fun and there's a great range of cars, but there's not always a lot of people in the lobbies.
No, I appreciate that. It's very interesting, because I'm having to constantly keep apologising to the GT Sport community, people at JTG Sport, because I want to play it and I want to do the dailies because of them. But the more I've played the other games, every time I come back onto GT Sport, what you've just said is what I feel, and so I'm recognising that there is a difference between this and other games. But again, this does have a place in my heart. I can't wait to get GT7 and get in all these different cars and just have fun. But we've got Jack Baldwin and Stephen Scott in chat. I'm not sure who it was who's just messaged me. I don't think Jack was here earlier. But what are we thinking with regards to? I know we spoke about this earlier, but I don't think. In fact, Stephen Scott, I don't think he saw it either. So I don't think either of them heard about what we were saying with regards to the final and what you were thinking with the tie. Because I said a 1v1 would be awesome. I would love to see these two lock horns and just go at it. For however many laps, but of course, it's not my thing. It's absolutely yours. So what are we thinking? What are we?
Yeah, I think a 1 versus 1 would be an interesting idea. I think they'd be very close. But I think what would be really quite good fun is also involving the rest of us. So perhaps the top three from, or the top four or top five from the split 1 and split 2 could all be in the same race, and then we put Jack and Scotty at the back. Take whatever is the finishing position, and we put them at the back, and then they've got to, whoever finishes ahead is the winner. That would be the championship decider. I think that would be quite interesting. Or put them on medium tyres and everyone else on super softs. Because they're that much faster than us, but and we might have a chance to compete with them. It's an interesting one. We will have to think. We'll have to, Richie and I will have to, or the admins will have to come up with something just in case that is the outcome. But yeah, let us know. Put it in the Discord what you would like. Go into the general chat on our channel and let me know. Let me know what you think would be good, because that is, you never know with motorsport. It can always, the unexpected is the thing that tends to happen. So yeah, best to make plans to prepare for that event just in case it happens.
Yeah, stick them both on wets. That'd be a good idea.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan Sutherland used to get me on that because he used to play Colin McRae Rally, right? And
wow.
I would do the Swedish Rally, right? And you know what? When it was my turn, he would put me on slick tyres, right? But I would still beat him. I would still beat him on his stages, to his huge annoyance. I could still go faster than him on slick tyres in the snow than he could on snow tyres. So it was like he would just go straight off the cliff, and I would manage to finish the stage. But no, that's the thing. But here's a gripe about GT Sport. Now maybe this might also sit with your channel, because what I love about racing is it has to be real, right? So it's a good simulator.
I'm so glad you're saying these words, Hugh.
Right? The big problem, it's like not Dragon Fuel, but what was the one? Miyabi and Kurori. What's the one? Kyoto. What's the one?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It was on the other week.
Yeah.
It was a reverse one.
Yeah.
And they have that chicane at the bottom, or the S's thing, where you're not on the track. Your four wheels are basically off the track.
Yeah.
Now, in no circuit that I know of would allow you to go off the track like that and be legal. And I think that's what annoys me. So yes, there are some of these incredible aliens that can do these amazing times, but actually, if it's real, it's like Brands Hatch. You don't get there's a limit to how much you can cut, and I think they need to be really stringent on the corner cutting and the amount of curb you can take, because then it closes it down. Because anybody, here's me, we're driving a rally car and I'm coming down to the left-hander. I can go across here and miss the track, and okay, I've gained a second or whatever it might be, but I don't want to do that. I want to stay on the tarmac. That's what you're supposed to do.
It feels wrong, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, and that's what puts me off. Because yes, these guys are doing incredible times, because we all want to try and get up there on the time trial. But you need to make it a fair playing field. And if you're corner cutting, and I know that some folk have said, well, you just need to learn the amount of curb you can take at any one circuit. And yeah, to a point. But the whole idea is that it's a track, and that it's not autocross. You're supposed to stay on the track.
I mean, I've said this, and again, I hate that I'm saying this because I want this game to be better. But for a game that calls itself the Real Driving Simulator, there's a few areas, like you say, that they just need to get right. And you hear so many people say this, and you are right. I remember when I was getting stuck into it, and I was on my little DR hunt, and I remember looking at Jack, one of Jack's lap time. I think he was top of the leaderboard in the world at that point. I can't remember where it was. It was a race C in the Sirocco, I think, or race B, I don't know. So anyway, I popped on there. It was like a bit of my DR time, and I was pushing and pushing and pushing, and I was thinking, why am I 5 seconds off? Usually I'm 2 to 3 seconds when I get in there, but I was thinking I'm absolutely owning these laps, and I'm 5 seconds away from his time. So I go on the look at his replay, look at his ghosts, and I'm pretty sure Like, if I can find the video and I can screenshot my face, I'm pretty sure I am gobsmacked with the track lines that are allowed. Because, like you say, there's 4 wheels that have completely and utterly gone off the track. But as a driver and as a racer, you don't think it's possible, so you just don't do it.
The other thing is they're changing down gears in impossible ways. Now, I once went to a track day with Mazda, and we got to drive an RX-8 sports car, and I came into the hairpin at Ingliston, and I went and selected the lower gear, and I locked up the rear wheel because I changed down too early, and I only just managed to declutch it so that it didn't blow up the engine, and the effects of the wheels locking was stopped, and we nearly spun it off, and he was not very impressed. The guy was not happy at all. But he didn't tell us that, what to do, and it was just an easy mistake to make if you're a novice driver. We weren't on a race, we weren't racing, we were just trying to drive quickly around the track. And you see people saying on the videos, right, change down into first to improve your maneuverability, or your the what do they call it, when you're turning in, it means you get better agility around the corner. That's all very well, but in real life, your engine's going to go pop.
Yes.
If you change it to first and then back up into second. And that's an obvious mistake. It's an obvious thing, but they allow it. And people used to do that on the F1 games. I remember doing time trial, and they were so much quicker. I remember doing Jerez in the old F1 game, and I could never get near anybody. But when I watched their videos, they were all changing down to they were going at 200 mile an hour, then changing down to second. Yeah, instantly. The car wouldn't even lock up, and it allowed them to get round the corner. And it was like, well, that's not really, you've got to actually slow down and let the car go down the gears. And for me, that really pisses me off.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
It's not real.
It's not real.
It ruins. It takes away. For me, then it's just like an arcade. It's not even as good as an arcade. It's just it's a silly mistake to try and please people, and it's like giving someone an advantage, but they're not really racing. They're just they're really cheating. For me, it just doesn't, because you just wouldn't be able to do that at all and be taken seriously if you went for a race day.
No. Well, you mentioned Assetto Corsa as well previously, didn't you? And I remember I was playing this quite heavily, Gran Turismo, and then I bought Assetto Corsa, and instantly I fell in love with the Highlands, Black Cat County, the roads, not the tracks, because I just love getting in a car and just driving. And you could change the field of view, which I love. You actually get a sense of speed. But with regards to what you were saying about the engine, I went on with my friend and we were just driving around, and I blew the engine up 3 times, right?
Really?
Yeah, exactly, right? And do you know how I did it? From downshifting too early. It eventually put that much pressure on the engine that I popped 3 engines. We were just having a play, it was just a free roam, but I couldn't believe that they'd coded that into the game. And I was just like, wow, this really is, it real. It's the only way you can describe it. And I think, like I say, I'm very, very conscious about the words I choose for GT Sport, because I know that it's a big community, and I know there's a lot of drivers out there that don't play anything else. And I think that's somewhat the issue. They're not used to these other games, and you hear people mention the setups. The setups is quite a big thing that I hear puts people off, but the setups, it's not really a big thing, is it? I think once you've got the setup and you save it, it's job done. And again, it's real. It's just there's that fine line between them both, but
I think though that is maybe one good thing that is a good thing about the GT Sport, is that you don't really have setup changes on the daily races. So you can do brake balance and things like that, but that's it. So it makes it a very level playing field in that way. And that's why the slower cars I find are actually more fun, because if you get like Suzuka East in a 1960s Mini Cooper, you might have a chance of getting within half a second or less of the top times, because you're basically not too far away, you know. And that's maybe at an A or a B level, if you're an A driver or whatever, you know, or even a top end B driver, you might have a chance of getting near some of the times. So you kind of think, well, you know what, it's possible. They're not. I know we call them aliens, but it is possible to compete with them.
Yeah.
You know, because you kind of think, oh, you do these games because you don't want to be crap. You know, you want to try and learn and try and get better. And also, but I mean, I think the guys that are very, very good, like any good player, they know how to exploit every single advantage, and to their credit, they've managed to do it. And you know, they can do it really well. I think some drivers are probably more honest than others, you know, and can actually genuinely get the times that we couldn't get, because they just have got incredible skill, very, very good reactions, and they're very honest with their racing. You know, they want to do it properly. So yeah, but I think GT Sport could learn an awful lot from that, I think, as well as the damage ratios, because all the time you're getting hit, that doesn't help.
That needs sorting.
Yeah.
That's the...
I mean, I think it's slightly better than it was, but to be honest, I have not played it that much recently, because I've just been a bit bored of it. It just doesn't. Yeah. You know, some races I like, but I find I've been playing a lot more either ACC or Automobilista, or a wee bit of iRacing. Although I've got my gripes about iRacing, so that's a different question altogether. but it's expensive. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of money, and I don't think you get much value for it. And some of the driving standards are atrocious. In fact, most of the races I've done, I think probably 9 out of 10 races, I've been affected by somebody taking me out, which is way, way worse than GT Sport. So yeah, the sim racing community is in a very interesting place.
Yes, that's just what I was about to say. Yeah.
It's growing so much, and there's great people involved. But when something grows to such a level, and there's lots of really competitive people, that's when you see the kind of character of different folk come out, and why you have folk, you know, with videos saying the worst driver on GT Sport.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be folk who just don't really care, and are in their bedroom playing the game. Nobody knows who they are, and they can get away with what they want to get away with.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's having a big effect on the rest of us who want to try and win fairly. You know, yes, we'll have a bit of fun on our open lobbies, but when it comes to the dailies, we want a fair run. We don't want to be just taken out for the sake of it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a very interesting time. I think obviously Gran Turismo is going to have an incredible amount of competition for 2022, so it's going to be interesting to see exactly who's playing what in 2022. And obviously, even for console, the levels between reality and simulation are becoming so minute now. In respect to ACC, because ACC are, you know, they want realism. They want it to be as real as possible. And so the gaps between them are next to not there. Obviously, you know, you're not getting the G-forces, I understand, but you know, I think people are using these games to better themselves as drivers.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, definitely.
See what I'm going to do, Hugh. I'm just going to go into the pits. You're welcome to join or whatnot.
Yeah. Two different calculate.
Let's have a look.
Now, here's an interesting idea for everyone. You may have seen on my Discord that I put a picture of the sim racing bus. And as I've become a bus driver, and I'm about to do my practical assessments next week, so here's hoping we pass and we can actually get the job. I'm thinking in the long term to get a sim racing bus, like a double decker, and to put sim rigs in the top level, and have hot dogs at the bottom level. So you can go to events, we can all have a great laugh playing the games, and eat lots of junk food along the way, and hopefully enjoy it at something like Goodwood or Silverstone, or you know, some kind of motoring event, and we can all have a laugh, because I could probably have about 6 sim rigs, I reckon I could fit on it. In the top level, and I think it's something quite unique, because I don't think I've seen anything like it.
Very, very interesting. And I have to ask, have we already spoke about this? Because that thought right there I've had myself, because I'm setting up, I'm growing the community, I'm setting up eSports, and eventually I want my own hub, and that kind of thing. And I thought to myself, the only issue with a hub is it's in a location, it's in one location. But if you put them in a bus, you can take that location anywhere. And you know, for me, the idea was, you know, obviously yes, it's all about fun, but esports is a thing, and to be able to drive to specific locations where people can come and get onto these rigs, I think is something special. So, is that something we spoke about? Have we spoke about this before?
We've never spoken about it.
How very interesting. So. We're aligned with that one. That's interesting.
So if anyone has well, I reckon I could buy a used bus for about 10 grand plus that. An old double-decker, about 20-year-old double-decker, one that runs. And then I don't know how much it would cost for everything else, but if anyone wants to invest in us, I'm all ears.
Well, this is it. My I don't want to give too much away, but my godfather is a multimillionaire, and he's the guy I've spoke to about setting this up. I'm not setting it up right now because of the state of the world. It's going to cost about 100 grand, if I'm honest with you, and that's for like 12 rigs. But this is full motion sim, VR, 3 screens, whatever people want, and that kind of thing. I'm sure it'd be a bit less with discounts and whatnot, but you know, it's an incredible amount of money. I don't have it, so for me to invest in that money that I have to pay back, it obviously, I want to know that there's going to be people that are going to want to use it, which is why I thought to myself, getting a bus would make so much sense. I don't have a bus license, but having a bus and having rigs in there, I think would be incredible. And I think if you just bear with me a second, Hugh, because I feel like this is where I want to go. So yes, I'm a sim racer. Yes, ultimately I want to do rallying. I want to get a rally car and do that. You know, that's really what I want. And from the sim racing community, what I really want from this is I want to meet you all. I want to, you know, once a month, once every 3 months or whatever it is, we all meet up and we all get together and we all have a championship. And you know, like you say, you're all downstairs, you're having a drink, you're having a hot dog. It's those moments right there that I'm passionate about. You know, it's creating those moments, because it's those moments that we all love. You're all getting together with people that have got the same interests, the same passions. You're getting them together. You know, and for me, this is why I'm investing more money. This, you know, I said 100 grand because I need the premises. I want direct drive wheels, I want traction plus, I want V3s, I want VRs, I want triple screens, I want the full works, because I want people to come, sit on this rig and be mind blown, because, you know, for me, I want the most immersive experience possible. You know, and I said on your screen, I've gone for a 75-inch TV, which is fucking huge, I'll be honest. I think 65 would have probably been enough. But field of vision is a thing, so it's just a case of me moving back, and then I kind of realised, well, 75 probably actually works, because I've got to move my sim rig back for the Traction Plus to get on, but then I want 3 TVs, you know, I want to be in the car, I'm going to build myself a roll cage. I went to B&Q the other day, you could buy 3 metres of piping for like £2.68, you know, cut it up, blah blah blah. I don't want to stream from the computer. I want a camera on my head or just behind me, and then people are looking at me and the TV, so that it's like they're inside the car with me. Button boxes, you know, material over my head and to the sides, because I want to be in the car, I want to be immersed, because I know what it feels like, and I want to give that experience to other people. And you know, the esports side of things, and the reason why, very nice car, the reason why I mentioned the esports side of things is because, you know, it's competition, it's people looking to get the best out of it and driving with other people on similar abilities, and I just think that's where it's all at. You know what I mean? I think so many of us, you know, so many of us are working jobs we don't want to work because we've got to pay bills we don't want to pay, and you know, we're all getting older. We're not going to live forever. It's like why don't we just have these moments that just create so much fun? And I honestly think, and I'm going to finish on this paragraph, I honestly think that having a bus, having X amount of sim rigs, travelling the UK, so it'll constantly be booked up, but then you've got time boards, leaderboards, who's the fastest on these rigs, so we're all competing each other. And then you've got your eSports events where you can drive to people, they can get on these rigs, they can stick the VR on. That's really what it's all about for me. So, but I'll end there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And see what you think about that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it sounds fantastic. No, I mean, I do think that the sim racing is a great way to get to a community, and if you can actually do it for in a particular setting, then even better. At the moment, I think some of the places that do it, I know that from one or two, I know that there's a few new ones down south that maybe be slightly different, but it's expensive. People are paying £30 or £40 an hour to do it, which is almost the same as go-karting, and for me, I think to make it work, it might need to be a bit more affordable. Yes, you want to have good technology, but you need to balance that out with something that's also affordable. Otherwise, I think you limit your market quite a bit. But that's just my personal kind of point of view on that.
Yeah.
But I think because the key thing is you want to capture people's imagination by playing the game, because that's what sets people up for life. To achieve something, if they think, oh, I love this game and it gave me a heart for motorsport. And I think we really need to rejuvenate that in a lot of people, because if you can introduce people to the likes of Assetto Corsa and they can start driving these amazing cars, perhaps they might kind of see that, why cars are so fantastic and what they mean to everybody, So I think it can do good on a lot of levels. It can be an amazing thing. But no, it sounds like a fantastic idea. I thought of it because I thought, well, I could take it to events, take it to schools, and do a kind of sim racing club type thing. That, like people go and do horse riding, they go and do different types of sport and stuff. But why can't they do sim racing? And they can learn to be a better driver, and who knows, it could get them into go-karting, or it could get them into motorsport at some point. It's a skill. There's no doubt the better you are at sim racing, probably the better racing driver that you'll make, and it'll certainly help your basic driving as well, because it gives you the skill of steering and throttle and everything else, I think it's definitely there for the future. As long as we're not going into the apocalypse, hopefully there'll be a chance to do it. It certainly, I think it's a very good idea.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to continue this conversation, because if I do make this happen, and that kind of thing, I may even need a bus driver. So maybe we can somehow help each other. But we'll have to see. That's interesting. We'll see what the stars align for us both. I know we're both men of perhaps different faiths, but faiths in itself. So I'm sure the stars will align.
I'm sure we can do something that. I think there's definitely a big future in sim racing. I think it's almost like it is the new motorsport. So this is maybe a leveler. It's allowing people with good ideas to have a chance where maybe before they wouldn't do. So I'm sure in the future there'll be names that we've never heard of, but we might have had something to do with, because this is the direction we're going.
And I think if we are doing that, and especially if we're doing it together, Hugh, because I can tell you're passionate, you're very much involved in the community. And again, I chose you for a reason. I wanted you to be the first interview for a reason, because of what you've done, give you that back. But I think what you're saying now with regards to giving people this chance to see what they might not necessarily see that we have, I think that's quite exciting. And also because we both have YouTube channels and we're both passionate about growing the community. Like you said, it would be very interesting on who we would meet, and perhaps give them somewhat of a start to become the next big star.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be a great way of developing talent in younger age groups. We've got people like Jack Balding, who's right up the top there.
Yeah.
But imagine going to schools and say that we can develop a team, and if you're good enough, you get in a championship, we'll take you on. We'll start a team, and it could be like a local team. There's definitely opportunity out there, and it's a great sport, and it can get people involved in a incredible. I mean, for us who love motorsport, we think it's the best sport there is, and there's nothing like it, and we want to see more people get involved, and this is the chance. It's always been expensive, but this way it's not quite as expensive as it was. And it gives people a chance. So I think hopefully, and it's in most ways it's quite a good thing. You go to a motor racing event, there's not any trouble. It's always decent. It's always fun. You can take your family along. So it's good fun. So hopefully, we can have an influence. Motorsport is a money sport. There's no doubt. When you go in there, people look at you and think, what have you achieved? What have you done? Who are you? But you have to make a name for yourself, and there's different ways to get in, and if you do it right, it can be successful.
Absolutely. I think again, the whole idea with this esports thing for me is I am growing my own TMK esports team, and I will have a TMK esports, well, not just a team for Gran Turismo, because again it's such a big game. And people want to compete, but I think my end goal is to create an esports team, a select few drivers that obviously want to compete at the highest level of sim racing, where you're competing for £5,000, £10,000, £25,000 I've seen if you win. So that's ultimately what I want, and again, like you say, just being able to give someone that chance that might open the door that would have previously been locked. And I think even if you spend 10 grand on a setup on a rig, I know it's a lot, but even if you spend 10 grand on a rig, it's nothing compared to a sports car. You're not paying fuel, you're not paying tyres, you're not paying oil. There's no worries when you crash it. And again, the whole sort of sim racing thing, you're allowed to go in all these different cars that are now built to such a fine degree of reality that you can experience it, especially in VR, and that VR and motion sim. I think you're in the car, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I mean that's what that's one of the things I would like to do this year, is upgrade my rig to something really quite good if I can. And do VR on iRacing, because Simulate is supposed to be amazing if you get VR on iRacing, and I've not done that yet, but that's one of the things I would really like to do, because I think that might give me a little bit of a unique selling point, you could say, almost for my channel, by trying to do that. Because I think a lot of the guys, as they've grown their channels, they get better equipment, and I think we quite like looking at stuff that's pretty decent. If the equipment's good, it's just nice to see what it's like, and how the experience adds to the driver, their ability, their success on the track, and also how they do their videos and streams and things. I think that's definitely, it makes it quite fun when you get some new and improved technology to play with. But also putting that into the hands of the masses is always a great thing to do. It goes back to when Henry Ford made a car for the people, immediately everyone, when people started to get a car, their lives were transformed.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing to do.
Yes, and I'm really happy you've said what you said about GT Sport today, and again, not because I want to talk bad about GT Sport, but because I think there's a lot of people out there that are really genuinely into motorsport, and I don't think they quite understand the differences between ACC and Gran Turismo, just talking about them two, and giving them that chance to be able to really appreciate it. I think once a lot of drivers, like Luca, he's such an amazing driver, but I think, and I don't expect he would go on ACC. The community is GT Sport for him, but it's, I think some drivers specifically that only play GT Sport, I think if they was to play ACC and get that feeling and know-how that we both speak of, because we're clearly both in alignment with that as well, they would get what they want. Because I think if you just want to drive, this game is perfect for this. Like I'm loving the fact that I'm able to go in all these different cars right now. But ACC you know, my heartbeat increases. I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I'm scared. I'm loving it. You know, every corner's scary. You've got your
When you're
tyres to
lining
think
up
about.
2 by 2, and you know, and you've got maybe 30 or 40 cars in the race, and you're mid-pack, and it's night time, or it's a wet race, or something like that. Yeah, it does make you a bit nervous. But
Yeah.
An interesting quote I was given. I remember when I first started watching, Thea's channel with Jeff, and Jeff said to me, he says, because at this point I didn't have a PC, but I was thinking about buying one, and he says, once you've gone to PC gaming, you'll never go back to console.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah, he's going to say that, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, a little bit like that. But my goodness me, those words have proven to be true many times over.
Yeah.
And he said, once you join our community as well, you'll never want to leave. You know, you always want to do ACC and things like that. And that's very true, because I love Three's a Crowd on Thea's community and that with Jeff. So yeah, no, it's an amazing game, and it gives you so much fun. And when they bring out more improvements and new versions, it's hard to think really what they can do to make it much better, because they've got a very, very good foundation. And a big thanks to them as well, because Jeff got me set up with my PC and all the bits and pieces and OBS and all of that. So yeah, they've been a huge help, and just fantastic really. So it just shows you what the community is like. And I'd like to say a big shout out, because I know many of the guys that are watching today are in our channel as well, and you know, I really appreciate what you've done, especially through the HHTCR Championship, like Dial Kebab and Richie, and obviously Roo, and all the guys that are involved, Moomin Papa, Ian, all the guys that have been stewarding and doing all that work. They've done a phenomenal job, and really I've not had to do anything at all really, you know. But you've made it all happen and make it run very smoothly, and I hope we can do something. I know that I'm going to be doing shift work in my buses eventually, so I'll have to try and figure out what days I can do, and some weeks it might be more difficult, but they will still be able to put a good timetable in, and hopefully have lots of fun, and do good streams and things. But no, they're an amazing group of people, and I really appreciate every one of you, and you know, and it's so nice to be asked the questions rather than having to ask them. I can just think about what answers I can come up with, rather than somebody go blank thinking, oh, what am I supposed to ask this person, you know. But yeah,
Indeed.
but no, I truly appreciate everyone who's been involved, and the comments, and just the fun that we have, and just the fact that you take time out of your schedule to watch my videos and my streams, because you could be doing anything else and watching anybody else's videos and things, and you very kindly you've watched mine, so I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, like I say, you're most certainly a legend in I mean, I have to say the GT Sport community, really. You've done a lot for us, so I think, you know, it's exciting to see. I'm getting I'm not sure what word I want to use. I don't think somber's the right word. I think that's a negative word. I'm getting a very strange feeling that something new is on the horizon from the conversations that we're having, because it's making me aware. Like when I was streaming Gran Turismo, I went on because I'd realised that some of my viewers had stopped because it wasn't Gran Turismo Sport. Like I think there's a Gran Turismo Sport community, and that's it. Like you play Gran Turismo Sport and nothing else, I've realised. And again, I've got nothing against that, but I think I went back on it before we did this. I went on the Nürburgring, but you know, it gives me the same goddamn feelings every time, and I think the future of sim racing, whether it's GT Sport, new games we've never even heard of. I mean, BTCC, you know, exactly. You know, if they've got it right, and it's realistic, and it's heart wrenching, and it's, you know, you've got the engine sounds and you're side by side, and there's a real good chance. But I think we're coming into an age now where laser scan tracks seem to be the norm. We've got cars that are obviously being work down to a T. I know that iRacing, again, because I'm so big into rally, what's his name? Scott Speed, who is the rally driver. He was very heavy on the creation of how the cars feel in rallycross on iRacing. He was part of the development team because obviously they want it to be as realistic as possible. They want it to feel exactly the same. And I think, you know, that we're kind of talking first generation games here. Do you know what I mean? In the sense of like the real simulators that we're talking of, they're all first generations. Gran Turismo, it's Gran Turismo 7, but realistically it's Gran Turismo 10 or something with the other ones that they've released, like Prologue and Tokyo or whatever it was. So, you know, I think we're on the horizon to something big, and obviously now we've got next generation consoles, graphics are getting better, we've got VR, we've got motion sim, and I remember watching. I mean, I'm big on motion sim because I want to be in the car. At the end of the day, I want to feel it and know what the suspension's doing, each suspension, individual suspension, and that kind of thing. And you know, I think that's really exciting for me. And I think a lot of drivers that play racing games, I think we're going to be treated to a lot of new games and new experiences this 2022, which is exciting for 2023. Because obviously we're going to grow even more. I just think it's exciting to see where sim racing will go, both PC and console. But you know, like you say, you can't. PC is another animal compared to console. And I was going to get a PS5, and I still will. But PC has now become priority because listening to what you're saying and listening to my very good friend who's gone from ACC to PC, like he says it's not the same game. It's, you know, it's a different game.
No, it is different to some degree. There are similarities, but well, you should join us on Three's a Crowd on Wednesday nights because it's great fun. You know, on Thea's community because there's normally about 30 odd drivers at least, and then you get a wet race, a dry race, and a night race. And
this is PC, ACC we're talking about.
Yeah, and it's either Group 3 or Group 4. So it's they're great fun. I've learned so much and had some wonderful evenings with them. Really, really good. But I know obviously people can do the sim grid and things like that as well. There's lots of options that people can take part in. That's one of my favourites.
I'd be very much honoured to do that. I think obviously as soon as I can, probably gonna have to get finance on. I mean, even if you get a decent gaming laptop, you know, places like Costco are very good. Costco obviously is PC World and things, but I always find Costco be slightly better than PC World. Obviously Amazon as well. Amazon do lots of really good reconditioned gaming machines, like gaming PCs that are very well priced. A lot of them are guaranteed as well, you know. So you just need to look at the specs and then just make sure it's got the power to run the graphics of the PC games required, and then go onto Steam and download them. And you can get quite good deals on Steam. So it's a little bit more straightforward than you think, and you don't have to have such a big a budget as well. There are ways of getting around that. So if you just want to get something to get you set up, it is possible. Indeed. Well, we're getting a lot of people showing a lot of love to you. I think from that earlier comment, they appreciate you clearly. And Rue joining the chat as well. Howdy doodle, Rue.
Good to see you, Rue. Good to see you. We had a big long 2.5 hour chat on Saturday night. Jerry said we love you, Hugh. That's very kind. I love you too. That like a cat I would have sitting on my lap. I'll give you a pat on the back, you know. But yeah, no, it's great fun, isn't it? It's great fun, and it's good to see everybody. And I know, we've had some really good guys and great viewing numbers on when we've been doing the HHTCR series, especially with you and Rue doing the commentary, because you guys do a fantastic job, and very, very funny, but also keep everyone going with your commentary. So it's no, it has introduced us all to great people, hasn't it? And
Yes.
very highly skilled people who love doing what we do, and that's a big part of it. You know, there's so many things you can say. You know, I don't want to repeat myself, but it's just great fun. We're all kind of motorsport maniacs, really, aren't we? And we just kind of want to have a go. And this is our one chance to have it. You know, so we'll take everything we can get.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, but I always wonder, you know, what the old legends would have made. I mean, poor old, you know, Schumacher. Michael Schumacher had that horrendous skiing accident.
Yeah.
And never seems to be. We never hear if he'll ever recover fully or not. But people like him, could you ever imagine what Ayrton Senna would have been like on sim racing? Because I reckon he would have been a big fan. I could imagine him turning up to an event like Goodwood and say, right, let's have a go. And he'd probably say, right, I want to make sure that mine's faster than everyone else's. You know, it was like, you know, it's you know, it's all, you know, they're all ultra competitive. But because obviously Lewis Hamilton, all those guys do it, and I'm quite sure that given the, you know, if Senna had lived, my goodness, what would he have gone on to do? That's one of my only big questions that I hope to eventually be able to ask him in the next life. But yeah, so it's kind of one of those things. But no, it's the games are amazing, and what they can give you as an experience, and for that kind of, what do they call it, for pure escapism, they are immense.
Yep.
It's just like, you know, I mainly play racing games, but I do love Grand Theft Auto. And to be fair, if you want a funny wee vibe for you, but when I knew I was going to get this bus job, I ended up going on Grand Theft Auto 5 and hijacking a bus so I could learn how to drive it. I thought, I need to learn my kind of the dimensions of it. So I hijacked a bus with some poor old NCP passengers, whatever they call them, and raced around Los Santos or wherever it is, or Liberty City, and I took it to a bus station, and then I got off. Nobody else did. And then somebody came along and stole my bus.
Have you played Bus Simulator? Because I've actually got Bus Simulator.
I haven't, but I should probably get it, because I have heard it's really good. It's quite fun.
Do you know, for what it is, like, you know, I enjoy it. Put it that way. It really is a fun game. The way they've coded it to be enjoyed is very well done. I might even do another stream of Bus Simulator, purely because I can talk to people.
Yeah, I'll have to watch you when you do it, because I can tell you what is a good bus stop and not. There is an art form to stopping at a bus stop, because I've been learning that today.
There is, yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's very easy to get it wrong, because that's basically what I've been doing the last few days, is how to get it wrong. But you would think it was easy, but it's not. You know, I think, like most people, you look at bus drivers and you think, oh, anybody could do that job. But actually, you know, I've just gone through three theory exams, 100-question theory test, was it a 50-question case study, which is when you have to look at every kind of thing that could go wrong, and every situation you've got to pick the right answer, and then a hazard perception test, which is about 20 videos of that. And so just to pass that takes a lot more than you would think. You know, you've really got to put some proper hours into doing it. Then you've got to actually drive the bus. So I have a lot of respect now for bus drivers, where I probably didn't before. It's not easy, and the real thing, good grief, it's wide, it's long. You've got to watch out for your tail swing and all sorts of stuff. But the one question I've got for the bus simulator: what happens if you run over a pedestrian? What do you get done, or can you blame it on your...
Do you know, I don't think I've done that, if I'm honest with you. That's something to try. I'm going to download it. As soon as this interview finishes, I'm going to download it, because, like I say, to be able to stream something like that and just be able to talk is awesome. And everything that you've just said, there's an art form to it. You know, being able to do the correct thing to 100%, shall we say. There's something very, very, very rewarding from that, and it's very clever, because you have to go obviously stop at the bus stops correctly. You've got to drop the sides. If there's disabled people, there's like a disabled button. People come on, you've got to obviously give them the tickets. Some people are cheeky and don't pay. You don't have to, but you can get out the bus and you can check whether people have paid, and sometimes people don't. It's quite funny. All the buses are based off real buses as well, so if you are into buses, they're all based off the real things. But yeah, it's just very, 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 very enjoyable. I do think you'd enjoy it, so I will download that and do a stream.
I think I need to get it.
Yeah.
Because see, the big thing now that people forget is that 30 years ago they didn't have anywhere near as many older people that used to use the bus. It mainly was a lot of young folk that used the bus. But now a lot of folk obviously have aged. A lot of folk are in their 70s and 80s, and a lot of them have, they've got their bus pass. So of course they're the main users in a lot of ways for the bus. And the big problem is, this is what we're learning at the moment, is that if you have to do an emergency stop, while you might avoid an accident on the road, you're going to throw your passengers off their seats because they're not expecting you to have to brake harshly. And the biggest killer now, it seems to be that if someone has to brake hard, if a driver's not paying proper attention and not responding to an incident properly or a situation properly, it's old folk who are getting thrown off their seat. And if they're not killed on that direct accident, they might die a few days later because of an injury that's been caused by that incident. And people go to jail for it. So that's what they're trying to teach me just now. You have to, so that your passengers don't know what's going on in terms of they are unaware of any potential incidents because you've responded to them in a manner which means they don't experience it. So it's an awful lot more than you would expect. But what you have to actually do is, it's going to be fun over the next few weeks learning more. But but the game looks funny just because I think the potential to get it wrong could be hilarious.
I think basically it's like a point. If I remember rightly, it's like a point system, and the better you do, the more you get paid, and the more you get paid, obviously the more you can upgrade. So that's basically, I think, how the system works. So obviously you want to perform to your best ability, and then obviously that's when you can start progressing quicker, get new stuff, get new buses. Because I mean, I am not into buses at all. I'm not, one of those. I'm not a bus spotter or anything like that. But for what the game is, I love it. I really, really do enjoy the game for what it is. So
Well, when I had it on Grand Theft Auto, I had a bus that had been chased by the police because I had run somebody over. I'd been in this long car chase. Finally got away from the police and lost all the stars, but my bus was on fire, and I came to a stop. So I jumped out, and then my bus exploded at the bus stop. It completely exploded, and it kind of killed everybody in the local area, including myself. On the whole thing, so it is very, very funny, but not it's probably it's funny because it isn't PC, but yeah, so no, it's a bit of a laugh, and obviously the proper bus simulator I'm sure will be very serious and won't allow for any of those kind of shenanigans. Maybe there's a cheat code. Maybe somebody's come up with some funny cheats that allow you to go faster.
These games do that, yeah.
But if a drunk gets on your bus and you can't get rid of him, maybe you've got a flamethrower to the side of you so you can blast them out or something. But it's like, that might be a bit more like Grand Theft Auto. Or you can say some appropriate words to get them off the bus. But no, that's the thing. That would be the thing. But look, I'm going to have to head because it's getting late and I've got to be up at 6:30 tomorrow morning. So.
Bless you.
I'm heading on, but look, it's been an absolute honour to come on the show, and thank you very much for inviting me, and to everyone watching, thank you very much for listening and putting up with me. It's great to know you, it's great to be friends with you, and I look forward to all our community work and all the stuff that we'll do together in the future.
Indeed. Well, I do most certainly appreciate your time. I hope you've all enjoyed it in chat. It's been amazing, and you've most certainly aligned a few things for me, and obviously we'll continue our chats with regards to the whole sim rig bus thing. I think that is a perfect way to grow the sim racing community. But yeah, very excited for what's to come.
Yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely.
all your time, and yeah, I think that's everything in chat. We're all good to go. Thank you so much. I guess I'm gonna need a catchphrase, aren't I?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is right now.
Well, I've changed mine now because, you know, it was drive fast and try not to crash, but I now got a new one. It's called drive fast, but drive your bus faster.
I like it. I like it.
So I'll have to get that on the whole motto and changed over. But no, seriously, it's been fantastic to come on the show tonight, and I really appreciate everybody for watching and putting up with me for 2.5 hours of Hugh's and Matt's chat. Certainly on my side here, you're very, very accommodating to put up with me for that long. Not many folk would do that. But no, I wish you all the best, and looking forward to. I'm supposed to be drumming at your studio at some point. I'm really sorry we couldn't do it before Christmas, but it seems like everything happened to make it impossible. But hopefully we can still do that and get it sorted.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, Hugh. We most certainly will make that happen. Most certainly.
Yeah. Take care, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. And hopefully we'll see you on Saturday night for HHTCR. That would be great.
It's going to be a good one. Get the was it Scotty and JJ locking horns. It'll be a good one. Yeah, exciting times.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hugh. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your day tomorrow, and I look forward to catching you on Discord.
Thanks very much, Matt. Take care, everyone. Cheers.
You're welcome. Ciao, ciao. Ciao, ciao. Alrighty. Well, guess who's downloading Bus Simulator? Before I do leave, can I have some feedback from you guys? Obviously, this is Mucciolina behind the safety car in there. This is obviously a new idea of mine. It's not really a new idea. I've been wanting to do this for about 3 years, to be fair. But this is the first time I have put it into action. So how did that go for you all? Do you have any recommendations? Any tips? Any things to make it better? Anything that didn't quite work? Did you enjoy it? Just a little bit of feedback would be awesome for the first one. Because obviously, you know, for me, for Hugh, I just wanted to get Hugh on and do all this because I think he's done so much for our community. And I think it's probably worth getting you, Richie, involved as well. Get you involved, especially with the GT Sport community Discord. There'll be a lot of folk that would be happy to get to know you, get to know the GT Sport community. Because I think you're probably, you know, you're the place in a sense for GT Sport. So it'd be great to interview you. It's a beautiful livery as well by Mucciolina. Yeah, that's what I thought, Rue. That was my initial idea. Like static screens and that, like we all like moving pictures as opposed to a normal picture. You prefer the moving picture, don't you? That was my idea ultimately. Awesome idea, interesting to listen. Oh, is that why you pulled over to write that? Appreciate that, Dirk. Thank you, matey. I enjoyed it, sir. Well done. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you so much. Hopefully we'll see you streaming again, matey. I've been missing you. Good fun. I'm at work. Wasn't able to hear everything, but went well as far as I saw. Well, happy days, mate. It's all gone as well as I could have hoped. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to end the stream there then. And download Bus Simulator. We'll see how many of you join in for that one. Maybe more of you will actually join in to Bus Simulator just for the pure fact that I can actually talk like this and interact with you. obviously other racing games, it's quite difficult, especially rally. You just can't take your eyes off the road for 1 second, so I can only talk to you in between rounds. But yeah, we'll get Bus Simulator downloaded and go from there. Struggled with the accents. Neil. I've become a 52-year-old teenager, attention span of a goldfish, so good to have the action too. Happy to hear, mate. Thanks for tonight. Even hop on soon for a few races. Beautiful. What do I think of the Fittipaldi? Well, actually, now he's gone. I can get in there. From what I was experiencing of it, Richie, I fucking love it. It feels awesome. And again, this is everything I want from the game, so I'm really, really stoked. Oh, I'm shaking. That cars like this exist. Let's max the downforce out. Yeah, I'll give you a proper little drive now. See how we fare with this one. Yeah, from what I had to go with it, it was absolutely awesome. Ciao, ciao, Dirk. Thanks for popping on, matey. Unless you're staying around for a quick race. Nothing serious, like. Let me talk to myself again. Everything I've said that I don't like about GT Sport, there's as much positive as there is negative. And this right here is what I fucking love about GT Sport, and you don't get this from any other game. So this is what I love about it. Getting in a car like this, right? Straight away, when you said it, I was like, is this one of these made-up cars? But looking at it, it looks like a real car. Perhaps it is made up. But yeah. The sound, the brutality. And Ian's in it as well, look. He's gone for the blue Fittipaldi. And to give you some feedback, Richie, and again, I've got to be honest, none of what I'm saying is to throw any negativity into it. Them Subaru VGTs, for me on wheel, it was the weirdest car I've ever driven. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm glad I've done it, and I like the car for what it is, but already, Richie, I'm behind this car, look at my face, I'm smiling. This is what I want. Where's Ian gone? Yeah, straight away you can feel the difference. It feels more planted. It feels very stable. It feels like a proper race car. It's Mugilina. Mugilina! Yeah, boy! There we go. Richie. Well, I mean, all I'm trying to say with the negatives is the positive is I'm fucking loving this. And right here and now, we've got Ian and Dirk both in the car, and the emotions, they're just running through me of joy. Oh, Mugilina! But yeah, this feels like this is actually the kind of car that is giving me exactly what I want, in the sense of it feels like a race car. It feels stable. It's not weird, which the VGT was. The Subaru, it was a very strange car to handle, I've got to be honest. Again, nothing wrong with the car per se, but from an enjoyment perspective, it was just a very strange car to get used to. But straight away with this, I'm already loving it. It feels fucking awesome, actually. Like, really, really good. It feels fucking so planted. I mean... Yeah, this is sick, mate. Not sure where Dirk is. Give him space if he's there. Neil, you've got your own Pepsi Racing. Love it. Neil with the 666 as well. Just hold up, Dirk. Yeah, this is... Oh, Richie. Mwah. Mwah. I didn't even know this car existed, bro. This is what I mean. This is what I love about all this stuff. Everything that we've been saying, me and Hugh, the differences between the car, the experiences, the... You know, it's all what we want, you know? Yeah. This right here is what I want. This is what I want from this sim racing stuff. Just a laugh. We can all wait for each other. It doesn't matter if you spin off. Yeah, this is sick, mate. Absolutely fucking awesome. There's so much I want to say, but I just... my emotions say it all, you know? We've had a couple of deaths. Yeah, this is ace. It feels fast as well. Ah. Now, I've said this before many times about Neil, but he is Neil the Dark Seal. A dark horse, but a dark seal. What up, Deej? Ah, he's got on the inside. Ah, too hot. Oh no, it wasn't too hot. Oh. Oof. Oof. Let's see what we'll do. Yeah, this is spot on, mate. Absolutely spot on. Big shout out for choosing this car. Let's do a little free lap race. And then we're going to end the stream there, I think. What was I going to do? Get yourself in, Deej. Don't worry about it. Hey, Scott is back on. Yeah, did he not send you one? I can't remember if he was doing this last time. Dirk, did you send DJ Supreme? Oh no, that was it. You wasn't. You couldn't make it. You was with family. Yeah, send. Well, just go and chat, basically, Dirk. And you'll see IRL Supreme is the guy who's hosting the track tour that we was doing last time in the Subarus. Obviously, we're going to be doing it in this next time. So, yeah. Didn't join us last time, didn't get a friend request. Alright, well, it's still in the pits, so I've got a feeling he's gonna... I think it might be typing. Mujalina. I'll make sure it happens, irrespective. Anyway, Richie. We are befriended already. You're talking about DJ Supreme, yes? Dirk? Alrighty. So we'll have a quick little race for some lols, and then I need to eat, because I actually haven't eaten anything all day apart from a bag of ready salted Walkers. Ah, there we go. Yeah, I thought you did. Did you join in, or was you busy with family? I can't remember what the crack was. But anyway, all sorted, so it's happy days. Ian with a cracking start there. And Seal. Why can't I see the brake lights? Oh, I can. Oh, Richie. I can't explain how amazing this is. It feels... You know when you want to get in a race car and you want it to perform like a race car? This is that car. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for this one. First gear is quite long as well, so... No! Ah, bugger! Right, let's wait for... Oh, I was just about to wait for Ian then. Just left the room as I said, oh, I'll wait for him. Absolutely awesome cars though. Very excited for this track tour. Neil just ahead of Mugelina there. Be nice if they gave you this layout as well, wouldn't it? Which I guess you can actually do if you're in a private lobby, because you just go there. Might be an idea for one of them, Richie. Just an idea. I'm not necessarily bothered at all. But then you got this as well. We can all do it. Oh, maybe we can't. Not this one. Or maybe we can. make it even more intense. And then you got this one, which you can't do. It's a shame. That's such a shame, man, that they've blocked that off, because you could have used them as an alternate track route, even though it's not part of the track, if that makes sense. Mugelina took the win. 0.2 of a second. Well, Slipstream was on strong, but that definitely created some good laughs. So yeah, she bites a little bit. 195 on the straight, yeah. Cheers, Dan. Thanks for popping in, mate. Where are you off shopping? am going to end the stream there, though. Thank you so much to everyone. Appreciate all the support. Like I say, it is spot on. I think it's Sunday the 23rd, but we'll confirm after next weekend, Sunday the 23rd. Yeah, that's good, mate. That's good. Yeah, spot on that, mate. We'll be able to make that work. Yeah, thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much. Again, thanks again. I look forward to the future, to be honest, especially after that conversation with Hugh. It's quite interesting to see exactly what's going to come from all sorts of things. And Rack, I am honestly looking forward to this, mate. This next one is awesome. It's exactly what I want from it all. So, happy days. Thank God you exist, Richie. You're definitely going to need some interviews. But yep, thanks again. I'm going to shut up saying thank you. And we'll see you all soon. Peace. And ciao, ciao. Get on to Bus Simulator. See how fast we can go.